What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Omni-sensei here, with part 3 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Uchiha Itachi during the time skip. If you are enjoying this series, please for me like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. With that guys, Omni-sensei signing in. A smile found its way across Naruto's face. Only one thought came into his mind when he saw the black crow standing on top of one of his flowers. Itachi. So finally, Itachi had come to Konoha. It had only been a week and a half since he returned to Konoha. Nothing serious has been happening as of yet. He had been staying inside the walls of the village. There were no missions for him to do. Tsunade seemed reluctant to allow him to do any higher ranked mission. She was only willing to give him C rank and lower. But with the boredom that had taken refuge within him, he was surely going to have to take the missions. Going outside the village would be pleasant. He walked over to the crow and stretched out his hand. The crow flew onto his stretched hand. He locked eyes with it. He knew where Itachi was waiting for him. He was probably not taking any chance by coming into his house. He would not have minded though if Itachi had come. He would have set up privacy seals just to make sure that no one eavesdropped while they talked. He was also positive that Itachi knew the layout of the village to be able to come in and out without anyone noticing. But with how things were, he could understand Itachi's reasoning in staying out of the village. He had given Itachi the Hiraishin kunai. He was wondering why the Uchiha had not used it. Oh, how forgetting of him. Itachi had said he would only use it on emergencies. So anything that was not a life and death matter, he would not be using the kunai. Sighing, Naruto burst into a flock of crows. Itachi had chosen a good place for them to meet. It was just outside of Konoha, but nowhere near where Anbu kept constant watch over the village. Anbu always patrolled near the village walls, especially at night. Good thing it was still day. I was wondering when you would come, Naruto said, walking over to the stoic Uchiha who was seated on a tree branch. You have grown bored already? Itachi asked. To him it sounded like, what took you so long? He assumed that Naruto had already grown bored with being around Konoha. Yes, Naruto said with a nod. He stopped walking and sat down leaning against the tree Itachi was sitting on. There is nothing interesting to do inside the village. The only thing that seems to keep entertained are a few sparring sessions with Guy and Lee. He explained, his eyes staring down the ground. Odd, they never did the greetings like every normal people did. They just moved on with the flow. Well, they were not normal people. Their conversations weren't like what other people had. There was no need for greetings. If Itachi was not well, he could have already seen it. And if he was not well, Itachi would have seen it without him saying anything. That was how it was. You are training with Guy? Itachi asked with a raised brow. Yes, despite his ridiculous training methods. He is a Taijutsu master, something I am not. I can learn something from him. You never do stop training, Itachi said, shaking his head slightly. Naruto always wanted to become strong. He was always training. He always wanted to find new ways to become strong. The blonde always spent his time trying to invent new things that even he could not understand, and creating jutsus that he could not even hope to learn. There can never be too much of training. Each day we always learn something new. We always improve on ourselves, Naruto responded, not even looking up to Itachi as he did. Because we are alive. Yes, the international criminal admitted, but you have to know your limits. When you become too engrossed with training, becoming strong and gaining the knowledge of the world, it will change you, and you will become obsessed it. Speaking of Orochimaru, he is a prime example. All his life, he has been obsessed with gaining everything there is, and learning all jutsus in the world. Look at where he is now. It was no secret that Orochimaru of the Snake Sannin was obsessed with gaining all the knowledge of the world. His obsession has led him to do so many experiments on himself and others. Correct, Naruto said, but that is because Orochimaru was messed up from the beginning. He has no moral values and loves too much power. Aren't you messed up from birth? What about when you have gained too much power? Will you not think back of your childhood and reason that with the power you have you can change everything, make those who pained you suffer? That will depend, Naruto said, not denying anything Itachi had said. On my mindset. With the correct mindset and someone to always put me in correct path, someone to remind me of my purpose, something like that can never happen. Understand this, Naruto, Itachi said. You will not always have someone to guide you and support you. There will be times where you have to find your way on your own, times where you have to stand on your own without anyone helping you out. I know that, the blonde-haired Namikaze said, casting his eyes over the green trees. The fire country was lively. If he could enter Sage mode, he could feel it perfectly and be one with it. What are you planning now? Itachi asked, getting to business. This was why he liked Itachi. They talk serious matters. Nothing as of yet, Naruto answered. My plans will depend on the shape and mindset of the elemental nations over the next month. You think things will change from what they are now? Yes, I believe so. Itachi merely nodded. In the meantime, I have something for you. Naruto waited for what Itachi had for him. I am just coming from a Megaka. I spoke to Konan, Itachi said. I told her you would visit her, and I believe you will. She will be a good friend on your path and someone who will always support you, should you convince her to join you. So like Itachi to look out for him. When did you say I would visit? I did not say. I just made sure that she was expecting your visit. I will make time, Naruto said, and paused for a moment. Has she finished rebuilding AIM? Itachi shook his head. No, but it will be soon. She had some difficulties because during Pain's reign, the village was not allied with any other. Therefore, she had no help from other villages. It must have been hard for her doing all that alone. She was doing it alone at first, but after I spoke with her some time ago, she got help from those she leads. Let me guess, you told her that speech about one not being able to achieve anything on your own. Yes, do you not agree? Itachi asked, sensing something from Naruto's words. No, it just amuses me how you get passionate when you speak about it. But I guess it is because it is one of your biggest mistakes that led you to realize that. You will also make mistakes and learn something from them. Perhaps are you afraid? Itachi asked suddenly out of nowhere. Of what? Failure. All your predecessors have so far failed. The path you have chosen to take is not an easy one. None have succeeded. Those who failed were even greater than you, as you are now. Once a man comforts to fear, he cannot move on, he cannot see a way forward. Fear can cripple even the greatest of the great. It can be the difference between life and death, success and failure. Naruto paused for a moment. When fear of failure consumes you, you start to question yourself. What if I fall? Will everyone laugh at me? Will I even succeed? Nobody as yet has passed. What is special about me? Will I lose everything if I fail? But you know what, Nai-san? Naruto looked up to the heavens. I am not afraid. If I perish trying. If I fail once, I will get up again and try to succeed until there is no life in me. The words were said with so much conviction that Itachi smiled for a moment and adopted a proud look on his face. Not that Naruto could see it. He said nothing further to what the blonde had said. There was no need to. He had said it all. Someone is coming, Naruto said, getting on his feet. Itachi nodded. I sense him too. The chakra felt familiar. So much familiar. I will teleport to the hideout in a few days to tell you of when I will see Konan. So we could go together, Naruto said, looking at Itachi. By the look on the Uchiha, he knew who it was that was coming. Perhaps the person had an Itachi radar with him. He did not comment though. It was not important. Itachi nodded and gave a last glance to where he was sensing the familiar chakra. Without another word, he disappeared in a flock of crows. Naruto did not bother to look at the direction Itachi had glanced at. He did not care, and it was not of importance to him. He simply just disappeared in a yellow flash. He did not leave his scent or chakra signature, not even a trace of it. Naruto's house, though he never showed it, he was quite excited to visit a Megaka. Itachi had informed him a little about Konan. He wanted to know more about her. He was curious. She was the only female member of the Akatsuki, had been living with a guy who had a god complex. He had been told she rarely spoke during the Akatsuki meetings, which meant she had to be one serious woman. She was also an orphan who lived through the Second and Third Shinobi World War. All that made up for something that spelled interesting to him. A small smile flicked through his face. Yep, the meeting was bound to be interesting for sure. He just had to make time to go there. If he could get Tsunade to give him a solo mission outside the village, he could go to a Megaka after completing the mission. His cause was still being delayed by the fact that he had yet to make a name for himself. He was not going to use his Namika's name to gain fame. He was his own man. He would make his own fame by doing great things. Speaking of his name, the night he had met with his friends, he never told them that the Yondaime was his father. It was quite amusing when he saw Sakura's expression after she had learned of his heritage from Tsunade. She had called his friends to inform them because he had not. He did not think it was much of a big deal. Perhaps when he had been younger, he would have thought so. But now, he thought differently. He understood that his father's achievements were his. He may be a son to him, but his achievements were reached through his own efforts. He would also achieve many things through his efforts. Boasting that he was the son of Konoha's greatest hero would do him no good, but living to become greater than the greatest hero in Konoha would. There was also the fact that he did not want to live under his father's shadow, like Konohamaru did living under the shadow of his grandfather. Not all his friends had been shocked to hear the revelation though. Well, it was obvious with his looks, and it was just a matter of time before the villagers realized it too. It would not matter to him though. Naruto walked slowly to his study. He closed the door behind him and went behind his desk. He picked up a blank scroll and began scribing his book. Later that afternoon, that was another good training, Naruto-kun. Guy exclaimed happily, looking at Blonde who was seated beside Lee looking heavily tired. Your speed never ceases to amaze me. It's hard to believe you started training to increase your speed 3 years ago. If you had started the same time as Lee, you would probably have been just fast as me without my weights. Truly, he was impressed. Not even his eternal rival could match him in speed, and force him to release his weights. Well, not all of them. Still, Naruto was in the same league in speed with Lee, when the latter was not wearing his weights. Naruto shook his head, smiling weakly. With your speed, I might have to start wearing weights again just to catch up on you. You are way faster than me, and for me to be able to contend with your speed, I have to use chakra to enhance my own speed, he said, looking at the green beast of Konoha. In all truth, the guy was a freak when it came to speed. He had thought Itachi was fast, but no, guy was a lot faster. Well, he was a Taijutsu master. That is to be expected from someone like him. He still had not yet tested his speed while in Sage mode with the green beast, but he would not try that anytime soon. As far as everyone in Konoha was concerned, he did not know Senjutsu, not even Jiraiya knew. The Toads had not told him yet. You should be proud of what you have achieved, Guy said. This time his voice was down. It takes years and hard work to make it to the top. You are still young. I have no doubt that in the next years, you and Lee will be the fastest shinobi in Konoha. He did not know that Naruto could go faster with the Hiraishin. The blonde had kept it to himself that he could use the Flying Thunder God technique. Only Tsunade, Jiraiya and possibly Kakashi knew. He liked it that way. He wanted to keep it as one of his ace cards. Lee smiled brightly, looking at his sensei. You mean that guy, sensei? He asked, feeling quite happy that his beloved sensei had said he could become the fastest in Konoha in a few years. Yes, my student, Guy answered, smiling at his green student. I have no doubt that with your guts and determination, you will surpass me in speed and Taijutsu. Yosh. I shall. Before Lee could finish his sentence, Naruto cut him off. Lee, Naruto said calmly. You weren't just about to say that you were going to train harder than you have been, were you? Lee scratched his head nervously, making Naruto shake his head. How many times have we gone through this, Lee? I told you. You cannot add more weight to your current training regime, or your body won't be able to handle it. He had placed a gravity seal on Lee to increase his speed. Since Lee could not utilize the little chakra he had designed the seal especially for Lee. But like all gravity seals, it carried some risks. Lee had to train at a given program that Naruto had designed. This would ensure that his body did not take in more than he could handle. Lee also wore his weights while he had the gravity seal on him. That put a lot of strain on his body, more specifically his muscles. Should he overdo it, his muscles would tear at every part of his body, little by little, and Lee would only notice it when it was too later. If something like that was to happen, Lee would never become a shinobi again, considering what Gaara had done to him during the Chunin exams. The gravity seal Naruto had created was special in some sense, because it did not restrict parts of Lee's body, it restricted his entire body. If a Hyuga could look at Lee with their Byakugan, he or she could see a seal around Lee's entire body. The seal also restricted Lee's movements and pulled him down each time he got used to the restriction. That meant that the more Lee trained, the more the seal restricted his body. Like everything else, a body had its own limits. With each increase in restriction, his body would also be reaching its limits. Lee might not feel it on his body that he had reached his limit before something goes wrong. Even the gravity seal does not know when the body will reach its limit. That is why it will continue to add more weight and restricting Lee. Because of this, he had designed the seal to function for a month before giving out. Once that is accomplished, Lee could train as hard as he could, because he would no longer have the gravity seal on him. However, the results would be satisfactory. I get carried away sometimes, Lee said. You will train as hard as you want after 3 more weeks. I just need you to follow that program I gave you, and everything will be alright. After I take off the seal, you will see the difference, Naruto explained to Lee. Lee nodded, but he was happy. He could not wait for the 3 weeks to be complete, so he could see how fast he had become. Listen to Naruto-kun, Lee Guy said, agreeing with Naruto. He had listened carefully when Naruto explained the dangers of using the gravity seal he had designed. As much as he loved his student and wanted him to become strong, he did not want him to kill his shinobi career carelessly by doing something he was told abundantly not to do. We also don't want you injured before the exam, Guy stated, smiling. In the next month, a few Chunins were going to take the Jounin exams within the village. Lee, being only skilled in Taijutsu, had to improve as much as he could before he took the exams to have more chances of succeeding. Sorry, Guy sensei, I will be careful from now on, Lee said. Guy nodded and turned to Naruto, who was picking up his sword. How good are you with it? I have never seen you use it before, he asked the blonde. I have not tested myself against some hailed as a Kenjutsu master, but my skills with a sword are about Jounin level. As for using it, I rarely use it even though I walk everywhere with it. Guy nodded. So, I guess you were given it as a gift, he deduced. The only way someone would carry a blade such as the sword of the Thunder God, without even attempting to use it whenever he or she got into a fight, was if it was a gift. This meant that Naruto valued it highly, and would only use it to someone he feels worthy of it. Yes, Naruto said, not denying anything. Besides, there is no one in Konoha who can test me in Kenjutsu. Kakashi no longer uses a blade, and the only person who was a Kenjutsu master in the village was killed during the Chunin exams about 3 years ago. I might help you with that, a lazy voice of Kakashi said, appearing into the training ground. Naruto raised a brow at the man's appearance. He had certainly not sensed the man when he appeared. Perhaps it was because he was relaxed with the two and was tired. But even when he was relaxed, he should have sensed his former sensei. Well, the man was a former Anbu, he could still surprise him. Ah, Kakashi, my eternal rival. When did you get here? Guy asked, happily not bothered by his presence. A few minutes ago, the famed copy ninja replied with a nonchalant shrug of his shoulder. You can still use a sword like you used to, Naruto asked. He had never seen the man use a sword before, but he had been told that before Kakashi got his Sharingan. He used to carry a sword even when he was Anbu, and was very good with it. Yes, but I doubt I would be of much challenge to you, Kakashi replied, looking at Naruto. However, I do know someone who can help you. Who? Kakashi merely smiled at the blonde. You will see her, he said. So it's a she, Naruto concluded. He looked at Guy and Lee. I will see you tomorrow, he said, and disappeared into nothingness. Guy looked at Kakashi curiously. There seemed to be some emotions that ran through his face when Naruto disappeared without even sparing him a glance. He guessed the reason the Jounin had come to the training ground was to speak with Naruto. Shaking his head, he walked over to the Jounin and patted him on his shoulder. Kakashi merely smiled weakly. Lee, let's go do your afternoon laps, the green beast said to his student. Hi, Guy-sensei. Kakashi watched them go about their business with a slight sad look on his face. If he had not messed things up when he had the chance, he would have been also doing laps or something of that line with Naruto. He would have been like an older brother to the blonde, but he failed to do anything. He was a failure. Without another word, he disappeared in a swirl of leaves to the memorial stones. Memorial stones. Kakashi was surprised to see Naruto at the memorial stones. He had only seen him once at this place. Even so, then, he did not look like someone who was having regrets or mourning. He was just there looking at the stones with a blank stare. He could never figure what the blonde had in his mind. I knew that if I disappeared like that, you would come here, Naruto said, suddenly not even looking at Kakashi. The famed Jounin silently walked towards Naruto and stood beside him, but said nothing. What could he say? It is what you do, right? Each time you try to speak with me, I simply shut the door on your face, never giving you any chance to say what you wish to say. The blonde paused for a moment and looked at the heavens. It's about to rain, he thought. During his training with Guy, the clouds had begun to gather around. Each time I did that, you came here to confess, remind yourself of how much of a failure you are. Each time that happened, I simply watched with disinterest. I never thought of helping you while you drown in your sorrows. Do you know why? He paused again, taking his off the heavens. I did not pity you enough to bring myself to help you. To be quite frank, seeing you repeatedly confess you were sorry was not the least amusing and not a sight I want to keep seeing. And that is why we are here today. Kakashi remained quiet. It appeared that Naruto was not done speaking. He still wanted to speak. He would say something when given the chance. Do you know what I thought each time I watched your therapy sessions? Pathetic. I asked myself, was this the man trained by my father? Was this the man many consider as the strongest in the village? Was this the man my father saw as someone who could succeed him as Hokage? The answer was no. Naruto continued speaking before pausing. What I was seeing was a pathetic man with serious mental issues. I was seeing a man who was lost in his own failures. So Kakashi, say what you wish to say. Kakashi did not respond immediately. Naruto was not being gentle with him. He was quite harsh and frank. He had not expected their conversation to begin the way it had. Regardless, this was his chance. Naruto, he said after a few minutes of silence. The cold blonde was waiting patiently for the Jounin to speak. Sensei was more than just a teacher to me. He treated me like family, and I saw him as someone to look up to. He was always there for me, my teammates. When your mother became pregnant with you, Sensei was overjoyed. I too was happy. By that time I had already lost all my teammates, and the only friend I had was Guy. I was happy that I would have someone to call a little brother, but Sensei died. I had already lost my mother, father, but my father's death was the one to have affected me the most. My teammates were dead already, and when your father died, it was too much for me. Everyone I cared for had died, and I could not do anything to save them. I thought I would make up for my failures by looking after you since Sensei was gone, but the Sandaime forbid it. He told me to stay away from you. For years, I had to watch you tormented by the hatred from the villagers. The fact that I could do nothing reminded me of how much of a failure I was. When you entered the academy, I knew that one day you would graduate. It was my chance to make up for my failures. I quit Anbu and returned to serving Konoha as Jounin. When I became your sensei, I was happy, but again I failed to teach you anything. Sensei taught me his signature jutsu. I, as your former sensei, even failed to do that. I even told Jiraiya-sama that it was not a good idea to teach you the Rasengan after I had seen you use it. He chuckled dryly. But that was after I had taught Sasuke my own signature jutsu. I saw it wrong for you to be taught something that would help you survive, as at the time the Akatsuki was still hunting you. With Sasuke, I knew that he would use the jutsu to kill well. That is what I created the jutsu for anyway. Naruto listened to Kakashi's words silently, making no interruptions, while the Jounin spoke. Between you and Sasuke, you were the one who deserved to be taught the jutsu. Nevertheless, I failed to see that too. So he was not blaming the council for ordering him to teach Sasuke something useful. That was good, Naruto thought. When I saw you return from your training, I was happy to see that you had grown, not just physically but mentally as well. You reminded me much of Sensei. Even so, I asked myself, did you still need me as your sensei? Would you even accept me as your sensei? Was I even worthy to be your sensei? The Jounin paused for a moment. The answer I got was no to everything question. Whoever trained you well. I might not yet have seen what you can do, but I do know that you are strong. You seemed confident when taking on Jiraiya. Someone like you who is not arrogant can only be confident because you know you could handle Jiraiya. All I could say when I looked at you was that you had been trained well. Despite not seeing the extent of your abilities, I have watched you spar with Guy and Lee. From that I knew that you have been trained better than I could have again. Kakashi paused before continuing. But I think I like it that way. I would not have trained you better. Do you think I hate you, Kakashi? Do you think I resent you because I simply watched you drawn in your own pity? He shook his head as he spoke. No, I do not hate you. However, I am human. I have feelings. Despite how we view the world, our mentality, or the fact that we are trained killers, we are still humans. We will feel certain things. I, who was known as the kindest person, wasn't as capable of feeling hatred. Why? Because I live, I am human. The difference is what I do when I feel hatred and anger. Do I let that control me? Do I allow that to cloud my judgment? He looked up at the heavens again. Any moment now, he thought, and waited. Just then, a few drops came down and danced on him. And so it begins. He did not care if it was raining on him. The other difference is that I am here talking to you. I am listening to what you have to say. You have also been patient even when I seemed not to care about what you wanted to say to me. If I had simply allowed my emotions towards you to rule everything, I would not have bothered to be here. But because I did not allow my emotions to rule over my rational thinking, I am here. Seeing that Naruto was done, Kakashi spoke. You might not hate me as you say, but how do I forgive myself for being a failure? How do I try to change the disappointment that I am? Naruto shook his head. I am not here to help you solve problems you have been having before I could even speak. Nevertheless, what I can tell you is that, if you continue walking on that path, your life will be on an impasse. There will be no moving forward. You will never be happy. You will remain miserable until you die. Acceptance is the only way forward. He paused for a moment, holding out his hands for the rain to dance on his palms. You are like a man holding out his hands, allowing acid to fall onto his hands. Little by little, the acid will consume his hands. Little by little, your inability to forgive yourself will eat you away until he flicked his hand, allowing the water to fall off his hand. You allow yourself to be killed in battle because you see no way forward. Kakashi quietly listened to Naruto. Even after the blonde had stopped talking, he remained quiet for a moment. He did not mind that rain was falling on him. There were more important matters than that. Before I came to here, I had thought about this conversation. You were supposed to have been like my adoptive brother. When that failed, you were to be my student. Even that failed. What I can only ask is to be your friend, nothing else. That sounds acceptable, Naruto replied, not giving it a second thought. He never waited to see Kakashi's reaction to his words. He simply disappeared in a yellow flash. Kakashi smiled slightly and looked at the names he usually came to stare at. Rin, Obito, Sensei, you must have always wanted to punch me each time you saw me come here to tell you of my failures. His smile turned to that of a said one. I am sorry, he said, and disappeared from the face of the memorial stone. Naruto's house dealing with Kakashi was done and dusted. Now he could look forward to other things. There was much on his plate that he had to deal with, but the situation with Kakashi needed to be dealt with before anything else. He never liked leaving things being uncertain. He had already dealt with his issues with Tsunade and Jiraiya. His former sensei was the only one left to deal with. He was quite disappointed in Kakashi, though. He had first thought that the man was strong mentally, but he had been wrong. Kakashi had a lot of problems, but he hid them too well. The man had gone through some hardships during his life. Most of it all was emotional pain. He lost his mother when he was little, and his father committed seppuku. His father's death put a lot of strain on him, and changed much about his views and attitude. He had read it all on some of his father's journals. His parents were not the only thing Kakashi lost. He had also lost his friend Uchiha Obito, the person who gave him his Sharingan during the Third Shinobi World War. Obito had made Kakashi promise that he would protect Rin, their teammate. Kakashi failed to do that. Then came his beloved sensei. Still, that did not excuse him. Everybody had their problems, and some during their lifetimes, they learned to solve them. Kakashi has been living for how long? Yet, he is still unable to move on with his life. He constantly reminds himself of how much of a failure he is than trying to move on with his life. It was good that he handled it though. Naruto downed a cup of tap water before walking away from the kitchen. He needed to take a shower. Training with Guy and Lee brought much sweat to his body. Without a bath, he would surely stink. It was odd that Guy and Lee never seemed to stink that much despite their ridiculous training methods. You know, I was beginning to think you were enjoying seeing him suffer. A voice of Jiraiya spoke coming from behind Naruto. You thought I was a sadist? Naruto questioned without even looking back at the Sannin. He had already sensed him. No, I was just wondering why you simply watched him suffer from afar. What would you have me do, Jiraiya? Try to comfort him. Tell him he was not a failure. You could have done something sooner. You have that power in you to get people to listen to you, Jiraiya replied calmly. I also messed up big time, but you did not give me a hard time about it. I have not forgotten about that. Godfather Naruto reminded Jiraiya that he had yet to forget about his own mistakes. He stopped walking and leaned against the wall into the passage. Now he was facing Jiraiya. Would you have been satisfied if I had tied you up and beat you up to an inch of your life? Would you have been happy if I had removed the thing you hold so dearly just to show you how angry I was and still am with you? Jiraiya cursed his big mouth. He should have not brought the subject up again. They had already spoken about this, and he had to bring it up. No, he admitted quietly, but I would have understood because I deserved it. Indeed you did and still do, Naruto said. Perhaps I should do just that, give you what you deserve. Jiraiya was quick to reply, no, there is no need for that. We have already discussed things like adults. There is no need for violence. There is no need to worry about that. Jiraiya did not believe that for a second. While I was watching Kakashi, I was studying him, trying to find a way to handle him. I was also interested to see if he would give up if I kept pushing him away. My problems with Kakashi are solved, and to correct you, I never even gave the guy a hard time. We talked and I gave him an advice. Unlike you, Kakashi was just a student of my father. You, on the other hand, were my father's sensei and my godfather. Do you think a mere sorry and acknowledgement of your wrongs will make up for what you did? Jiraiya said nothing. What could he say? You said I did not make things hard for you. That is not it. The thing is, I just have yet to make things hard for you. I told you that I was angry with you, but did not hate you. Do you think all the anger I felt when I found out that you abandoned me to the vultures of this village just disappeared? Do you think that I will easily forget that you let me think that my parents had abandoned me, while you knew that was not it? Anger like that does not simply disappear after a one-night sleep, Jiraiya. Perhaps in the movies it might, but this is reality. I told you I would punish you, and I still intend on doing that, Naruto stated, making Jiraiya pale at the thought of being punished. Now state what you wish and excuse yourself. I want to take a shower. Jiraiya nodded quietly. I wanted to say that what you did for Kakashi was good, even though you took your time, he said. Haim has told me that you wanted to go on a mission. That is true, Naruto confirmed. If you like, we could go together when I visit my contacts in Kiri and Kumo, the Sannin offered. This would give him an opportunity to get closer to Naruto. Naruto caught on to that. However, there were far more serious matters than that. This could give him a chance to see other villages before making his move. When do we leave? Jiraiya grinned the second Naruto asked. I will just have to check things with Haim. I will talk to you tonight. Okay, Naruto said, turning to face the passage. You know your way out, he said, disappearing from Jiraiya's view. Jiraiya sighed, walked out of the house. He went to the garden first. It was quite lovely when Minato was still alive. He had some good memories in the house. He would have had a lot of them too with Naruto had he not messed up things. Not all was lost though. There was still time to make up for his wrongs. He doubted he could ever do enough, but the little he could do, he would do. Later that day, Naruto was walking alone towards his house from the ramen bar. It was so much better to take a walk sometimes than to simply teleport. He was thankful that Tsunade had decided against telling everyone about his heritage, not that he was hiding it anyway. With things the way they were, he could walk happily and peacefully around the village. A few number of villagers still ignored him, while some just went about their lives. He had no complaints though. He could not wish for any of it to be any different. He sighed, looking at his right at the corner of his eyes. Hinata, he thought, catching the weird Hyuga girl tailing him. She never seemed to be able to hide whenever she was spying on him. It had been going for a few days now. He thought eventually she would decide to leave the shadows and step out into the light. But he thought wrong. It did not seem like she would be doing that anytime soon. He had thought that it was annoying at first, given that she was always tailing him whenever she got the chance. Sometimes she would be at it for hours. It was annoying having a pair of white eyes staring at him. He could never do anything private because her eyes were always staring at him. Anyone would find it disturbing knowing that you always had a pair of eyes staring and watching carefully whatever you did. Now it was becoming creepy. He did not think that any girl in love did what Hinata was doing. If all girls did it, then he would surely die as he was. Perhaps Hinata was obsessed with him. An obsession sounded accurate. You had to be obsessed to spend your time spying on someone without an instruction for hours. She did it simply because she wanted to. He wondered though, did she not have her own life to live? He had talked with Niji about it, but the Hyuga prodigy did not seem bothered about it, or even care for it. He did admit that he would find it disturbing if she was spending much of her time spying on him. Nevertheless, he was not willing to help him out. He simply told him to deal it himself. He could, but he often did not censor his words to accommodate someone as fragile as Hinata. He would not want to be responsible for her mental breakdown. Glancing at her direction once more, he was about to call her when he sensed someone rather. A dark figure appeared before him. Uchiha Sasuke. The only reaction Naruto gave, physically, to the presence was a raised brow. He simply looked at the matured form of Sasuke's Sharingan. They were devoid of any emotion and looked to be studying and analyzing him like he was some kind of puzzle. Narrowing his eyes at a building on his left, Naruto saw Kakashi. The Jounin seemed ready to jump in should fireworks threaten to be ignited. Naruto, there was neither anger nor hatred in his voice. There was nothing. His voice was devoid of any emotion, just as his eyes were. Yes, Naruto said calmly. He looked at the Uchiha calmly. He had told himself that Sasuke was dead to him countless times, and he believed it. However, he was staring at those same eyes that stared at him when they tried to kill him. This person betrayed him. He could not think otherwise. Was it just easy to say that he did not exist when he was not in presence? He realized something though. He hated Uchiha Sasuke. There was no difference in Sasuke that tried to kill him and the Sasuke that was standing in front of him. I just wanted to confirm something, Sasuke said before disappearing. Naruto sighed. Yes, Sasuke was Sasuke, and he did not like him at all. He waited for Kakashi to appear. I don't know why I was even worried, Kakashi said. Naruto looked at him. He looked a lot better than he was at afternoon. Both of you have changed so much. I know that. I have gone on a few missions with Sasuke. I should have known better. Naruto did not comment. Let's go to the Jounin Lounge. You have never been there. Last time I asked you said you had other plans. Sure, Naruto said. He had nothing serious to do anyway. He could as well see what the Jounin usually conversed. Shimura Danzu narrowed his eyes at the presence before him, Orochimaru of the Snake Sannin. The snake was watching him as it made its way towards him, possibly plotting something devious. He could never figure what went on in the head of the snake. He might be in a comfortable position, but the snake is dangerous, he knew that. Why the long face, Danzu? Orochimaru asked with a wide grin. You still have not brought me my perfect weapon, Danzu stated. He had contacted Orochimaru so that the Snake Sannin could make him a weapon, since he had failed to get his hands on the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. He needed a weapon, a strong one. Sasuke was uncontrollable. He could not depend on him to achieve certain things. Yes, Orochimaru said, keeping his grin. I am beginning to think you are incapable of making me the perfect weapon, Danzu stated, keeping his calm nature. Kuku, Orochimaru laughed, finding it amusing. You forget that I always deliver, Danzu. I created your right hand. Yes, you were able to achieve that. But this task seems to be beyond you. It has been 2 years now since I contacted you. You must understand that creating this perfect weapon is a delicate matter that cannot be rushed. I also have to make sure every possibilities and impossibilities are calculated perfectly, Orochimaru stated, standing in front of Danzu. The matter is much more complex and requires me to do things that your simpleton mind cannot understand. Insults, that is what Orochimaru reverted to when someone said something about his capabilities, more especially about his genius. How many times have I told you to watch what you say, Orochimaru? Kuku again, Orochimaru chuckled. It always amused him when Danzu said things like that. There is nothing you can do even if I continue to show you disrespect, the Snake Sannin stated a fact. I will assure you that there is something that I can do to you. Kuku, this time Orochimaru laughed really hard in a very sick way. You forget, Danzu, I know everything about you. I know things that can get you executed by Konoha, since you have committed treason many times. Enough of this, Danzu said, firmly not wanting to continue with the conversation any longer. When will I get my weapon? Very soon, Danzu the Snake Sannin said with a grin. I have collected all the materials I need for the project. Since the last months, I have been collecting necessary data by conducting a series of tests, and so far the data I have collected is satisfactory. You have not given me an exact date of when I will get it, Orochimaru, Danzo stated, tapping his fingers on his throne impatiently. Orochimaru felt sort of disappointed that Danzo had not asked anything about the developments of the project. He sighed. Brutes could never understand the delicate scientific principles he had not followed with the project. It was not like magic where he would say the magic words and the weapon would be formed. Everything had to be calculated, measured and weighed at the right value. All formulas had to be rethought and composed again to see if there were mistakes. Mistakes in a project like this one were not something he wanted. It would prove to be dangerous for anyone should a mistake and miscalculation be made. Everything had to be in the exact order and angled correctly. Soon, he finally said. When is soon? You have been saying soon for months now. Danzo was really becoming impatient. He needed his weapon ready for use at any moment now. He needed it a year ago. But with the weapon not yet ready, he had postponed his plans. He could not wait any longer than he already had. Soon, just be patient and I will give you your toy, Orochimaru stated annoyingly. He hated being hurried to do his work. He liked taking his time when experimenting on things. It was fun that way. Now he was calling it a toy. Orochimaru, I will give you a month to finish creating the weapon. If you have not yet completed the project, then I will concede that even the once-in-a-generation genius is incapable of making some things. How clever, Danzo, Orochimaru thought with a smirk. Danzo was just saying it so to entice him to work even more hard to prove his genius. Well, he was not going to fall for it. He had dealt with Danzo long enough to know how the old Warhawk worked. Fine, Orochimaru said, but when it does not end well, don't come running back to me because you are rushing me. Just get it done. And a deal? Orochimaru asked. He was thrilled with that he was going to get out of this little deal with Danzo. The price was worth all his efforts. I will keep my end of the deal if you keep your end, Danzo stated calmly. He had what Orochimaru wanted. He knew the snake would do anything to get the project done. Make sure that the weapon knows where its loyalties lie, Danzo said with narrowed eyes. He had been saying this each time Orochimaru came to see him. He wanted the snake to remember that the weapon he was creating was for him and him only. Actually, that is the reason I came here, Orochimaru stated. What do you need? Your blood, Orochimaru said, licking his lips. Lots of it in your chakra. Why? Is it not obvious? Orochimaru questioned with a smirk. Danzo nodded. Fine, you will have what you need. Orochimaru threw Danzo an empty bottle for blood and a chakra storage seal. Danzo cut himself and allowed his blood to flow into the bottle. After that, he channeled his chakra into the storage seals. He handed everything back to Orochimaru. Orochimaru turned around to leave. He took a few steps before stopping. Danzo, next time you send one of your pests to follow me, I will not simply mislead them, I will kill them. Then he was gone. Danzo was going to order one of his root to tail the snake to find out where he was conducting the experiment. The snake knew how to hide. He had never been able to get old off then snake when it did not want to be found by him. Naruto's house. Naruto sighed as he sealed a few things he would need for his journey with Jiraiya. He regretted going with Kakashi to the Jounin lounge yesterday. He did not think that adults would behave so childishly, and then came Anko. He shook his head. The woman was crazy as they came. He had to restrict her with a seal to avoid her jumping on him. She wanted payback for running away from her, and then when she had gotten drunk, she was drooling all over him, literally. The sight was unpleasant. Never was he going back to the lounge again. The Jounin dranks ate too much, especially when they were happy or celebrating something. Still, their celebrations were wild. It was mostly the men who were out of control. The women, except for Anko, were acting their age. At least some of them offered him some pleasant conversations. Unlike most of the men, he had looked at Asuma with a blank expression when the Jounin had asked him if he was still a virgin. Then everyone stared at him waiting for him to answer. He did not answer the question though. Just so you know, regardless of what you answer, I am willing to ride you tonight, Anko had said, causing him to stare at her for a moment. He had expected the Jounins to act a bit more mature. Well, they were mature, it was just that when alcohol entered their system, they lost all maturity. Alcohol was not a good thing if you could not take it. He was surprised though. Kakashi was just his usual bored self, so was Guy. The two only took a few sips of sake, and then it was it. They settled for having civil conversations without much fuss. Well, that was for a few minutes before Guy started to argue with Kakashi over their score in their battles. Guy believed that he had won more matches than his eternal rival, whereas Kakashi refuted the claim, saying he won more matches. He even reminded Guy of their last match, which the Green Beast did not remember. Jiraiya had said he would come to fetch him when they were to leave. They would be leaving today. The Sannin said he would have to do a couple of things before they left. Their journey would take up some time away from the village. That meant that they would be away from the village for a few weeks. He did not mind being away from Konoha though. He had been away from the village for 3 years, and he liked being away. It was refreshing being away. He never got many chances to leave the village during his genin days, so any chance to go outside the village was highly appreciated and welcomed. He would not miss the chance for the world. It was not that he hated being inside Konoha. He liked being inside the village. Konoha was his home, and nothing could change that. It would always be his home. He had been born for this village. Perhaps his mother may have been an outsider, but he was still born here during a historic day, the day the Kyuubi attacked. Speaking of which, he had not spoken to the beast in quite some time. The time was now stretching towards a year. Mindscape, he walked into the cold Soa with his calm expression kept. He would certainly lose his mind if he had been the one locked up in a place like this. Surely Kyuubi got bored sometimes with being always locked up in a cage without anyone to talk to. He did not think that any human would survive with the kind of living conditions set after being locked into the cage. It was no wonder that during the times he had come here, he had always found the Biju sleeping or sometimes pretending to be. It would have been better if it could take one of those years-long slumbers. If it could, it would repel the boredom the beast had to face. He pitied the great Biju for that, but never said it loud, as it would only serve to infuriate it. He remembered the time he had thanked the Kyuubi for saving his life when he was still playing stupid. The Biju had reacted in a way he had not been expecting, and went on to remind him it only did it because if he died, it would be the end of it too temporarily, as in a few more years, the Biju would reform. He stopped walking after reaching the front of the cage that kept his prisoner. He did not say anything at first. He waited for the Kyuubi to acknowledge his presence. If it did not, he would turn around and leave. He had done that before, but he knew that the beast always knew when he was there. It just refused to acknowledge his presence. Slowly but surely, the huge blood-red eyes of the Kyuubi open, lazily as they did. "Hello, Kyuubi," Naruto began in a casual tone as if he was speaking to his friend. "What do you want?" Nothing more of what he had expected. It was always like this with the Biju, to the point first. "I came to talk to you," Naruto stated. The fact that the Biju had acknowledged his presence meant that it felt like talking to him. "Get it out and leave. You and I are going to be stuck together for a long time. Tell me something I don't know," Kyuubi said sarcastically. "I know you don't like me, being that I am the one containing you. But you and I know that I had no say in that. Nevertheless, you don't like me, and I believe you don't like anyone for that matter." He paused and looked at the Biju intensively. "As I said, you and I are going to be stuck together for a long time. We could work on our differences and get along quite nicely." "You are repeating the same words you said 2 years ago," the Kyuubi said with a snort. Sometimes it really did not understand its container. That was because he tried to be friendly. Kyuubi did not understand that. Humans were all the same. They saw Bijus as weapons, tools to be used for their means. He could not understand why Naruto would want to be friends, or try to just get along with it. It hated humans, and it was not going to get along with one. "That is unless that means I am consistent," Naruto said. "You could give it a chance. I mean, what do you have to lose? No matter what happens, you are always going to remain sealed in me. That will only change if I die." Again, the Biju snorted and closed its eyes, but it did not say a word. "Think about it," Naruto said, and walked away from the cage. The Kyuubi never looked at him as he left. It kept its eyes shut. About an hour later, Jiraiya showed up at Naruto's house looking a bit out of breath. Naruto figured the Sannin had been running away from something. When someone like Jiraiya was running away from something, you knew that it had to be women he was peeping on. He must have been caught peeping. It was a wonder to Naruto how the Sannin never seemed to be able to completely hide himself while peeping. He was able to hide for a few minutes, but sooner he would be caught. Perhaps it was the perverted giggles that always gave away his position. He was stealthy enough to hide from a few civilians. When he was caught, it was punishment time. He never seemed to escape that one. Never would Naruto pity the man, even if women do beat him up to an inch of his life. Perhaps people like Kakashi and other fans of Jiraiya's perverted books would be able to pity him. He was the source of their favorite books. Without him, there could be no books. That would surely be the end of some men. Kakashi would probably go into a mental breakdown and quit his shinobi career if Jiraiya was no longer there to provide him with new issues of Icha Paradise. "I thought you were doing something important," Naruto stated, looking at the pervert. He had said he had something of importance to do before they left. He had not thought it would be peeping. "I had something important to do," Jiraiya said in a slightly serious tone after catching his breath. He had been nearly caught. Had he been caught, he would have been at the hospital. Today he had peeped on some beautiful and feisty women. They were really mad when they found him. He was lucky enough to have outrun them. He did wonder why they had to be so mad about it. It was not like he had taken anything, and he had also seen what he wanted to see. Hitting him was not going to make him forget or stop doing what he loved doing. In fact, when they beat him up, it made him recall everything he had seen at an even clear detail that he would without being beaten. Tsunade had nearly killed him, and yet he still remembers how her naked body looked like. You need to set your priorities straight, Jiraiya. Since when did peeping become something of importance? It's not peeping. It is called research, why do people always get it wrong? Why could they not just understand that he was collecting research data instead of peeping? Konoha has the best hot springs. I had to get some inspiration before we left the village, he said, getting his tone down. I do not appreciate being kept waiting, especially when you were wasting time doing immoral things. Jiraiya ignored Naruto's words. Have you packed everything? I just said I had been waiting for you. Did not I? Why would he wait for the Sannin if he had not packed up everything? That would be stupid. Jiraiya sighed. You could have just said yes or no, he stated, slightly annoyed by Naruto's way of responding. Saying yes or no was a lot easier than saying all things he did not want to hear. If I wanted to, Naruto said, placing a scroll right beside his sword sheath. He hooked the scroll with the sheath before placing it on its rightful place, his back. Now shall we? We have to see Haim first, Jiraiya stated, causing Naruto to sigh. He followed Jiraiya to Tsunade's office. Hokage office. Tsunade stared at Naruto unblinking. He had just returned, and now he was leaving her again. She was beginning to think that he longer liked being inside the village. She had not thought that he would take Jiraiya's offer without even thinking about it more than he did. Jiraiya had told her that he had accepted without thinking about it for more than 2 seconds. It took him that little time to make a choice that would see him depart from the village. Why could not he understand that she needed him by her side? It took him little time to make a choice to get away from her. That left a bad taste in her. Looking at his eyes, she could not get anything out of them. They were their usual blank. Even sometimes when he smiled, his eyes betrayed that smile because they would never reflect happiness. They reflected nothing. She wanted to see him smile a bit more and laugh as he used to, but now she was realizing that it was just wishful thinking. At least he did smile at her every now and then. She had realized that he had become increasingly bored being cooped inside the village without anything to do. Perhaps this journey with Jiraiya would offer him a chance to get rid of the boredom, so that when he does return, he would be at least without the bored look he had been carrying over the past few days. Tsunade blinked and released a sigh. I just wanted to see you before you left, she said to the other blonde. Naruto raised a brow. He had been here yesterday with Jiraiya after the pervert had informed her that he would be leaving with him. She already knew he was going, not just from Jiraiya's mouth, but from his mouth as well. He thought that they had handled everything. You really need to take parenting lessons, Hokage-sama, Naruto stated, earning a nod from Jiraiya. The Sannin agreed with Naruto. What? You are showing too much love, and you are way overprotective. It is over the bar. I can see just by looking at your eyes you would rather I did not leave with Jiraiya, Naruto stated calmly. You have to understand that I am not a child who needs to be under your constant watch. I have told you that I can handle myself. I will be involved in dangerous things, some life-threatening. You have to allow me to fight my own battles. You have fought yours and survived. I will fight mine and will survive. But that cannot happen when you are always standing in front of me trying to shield me from any danger. Again, Jiraiya nodded. I have to agree with him, Haim. Naruto is no longer as he was 3 years ago. You have to allow him to grow and let him be a man. He cannot go anyway if you won't allow him to grow. He is no longer a child. He has grown wings. You have to let him fly, otherwise he will remain rooted to the ground. Tsunade sighed. She was just being concerned like any other person would. Could they not understand that? And besides, he has me to look after him, Jiraiya added with a grin. Yes, and it went well last time I trusted you with his care, Tsunade said sarcastically. You are not going to let that go, are you? No, Tsunade gave a short and firm reply. He had trusted her with Naruto's care, and he failed to do so after going on to his peep show. Naruto sighed silently. Sure, he had some unresolved matters with his godfather, but Tsunade had to let that go. There was nothing Jiraiya could have done against his escape. Jiraiya was certainly not going to forgive himself if Tsunade kept reminding him of it. It would leave a bad taste in his mouth if he simply watched without care, while the Sannin suffered. He was not that cold and heartless. People did make mistakes. He understood that. That is why he even speaks to Jiraiya. But that did not mean that there were no consequences for the mistakes. They were there and had to be fully paid for. As many mistakes Jiraiya has made, Naruto said, causing the Sannin to wince, remembering all the mistakes he made. I do not find my escape to be one of them or something he should be blamed for. I could have run away from him regardless of what he did. Either my chakra was sealed or I was trapped in a barrier. One way or the other, I would have found a way to get away from him. Tsunade looked at Naruto for a moment before nodding silently. He was still not apologizing for running away. What he had said just showed her just how intent he was on getting away from her former teammate. It was clear that even if she had been there to forbid him from doing anything stupid, he would have still ran away. Perhaps I have been a little overprotective, but that is just because I am always worried about you. I would never forgive myself if something bad happened to you, Tsunade said quietly. Don't you think it's becoming more of paranoia? Naruto questioned the blonde goddamn Hokage. Each time I leave, something bad is going to happen. Do you think that is healthy? Just be grateful that someone is worried about you. Tsunade exclaimed, staring straight at Naruto. Well anyway, have a safe journey and don't ever return like Jiraiya. What makes you think I will ever be like him? He is not the ideal role model, and anyone who would want to follow on his footsteps would surely be lost. You know that I am right here and can hear you perfectly well, right? Jiraiya said, not sounding the least wounded by Naruto's words. Naruto merely shrugged, while Tsunade ignored him. Point taken, the blonde Hokage said with a small smile. That was cold, Jiraiya said after Tsunade had ignored him like he had not said a thing. Sighing, Jiraiya continued. Let's go Naruto, he said, turning his eyes towards Naruto. Naruto nodded and smiled once for Tsunade before disappearing into thin air. I really hate it when he does that, Tsunade mumbled after Naruto had disappeared into nothingness with his unique sunshine. You are not the only one, Jiraiya said before he too disappeared. His disappearance was accompanied by a cloud of smoke, though, just outside of Konoha. Thanks for saving me back there, Jiraiya said to Naruto as they walked in a comfortable pace. He was referring to when Naruto told Tsunade that she should not blame him for his running away. I was merely doing what was right, Naruto stated, not even sparing Jiraiya a look. Jiraiya sensed there was a hidden meaning to the words, but did not press to find out what it was. It was better that way. Some things were better left uncovered. Sometimes it was better to let things be and stop reasoning, because there were times we would uncover things we rather not have uncovered. Where are we going to visit first? We will first go to Kumo, then Kiri, Jiraiya replied. Naruto nodded. Before they even reached Kumo, he would have to disappear so that he could speak to Itachi. He needed to inform the Uchiha of when he would try to visit Konan in Omegaka. Jiraiya was not going to be always at his side. The pervert would occasionally leave him on his own while he did other things. Given that opportunity, he would teleport to the hideout. Luckily, Itachi would be there. He had informed him that he would teleport to the place. He walked silently beside the Toad Sennin. This journey would surely give him a chance to see the world more. He would not mind to eliminate some bandits' camps while on the way. There were many of them scattered across the elemental nations. More of the bandits' camps meant more women were suffering. Perhaps some action would get his name on the map. Certainly having his name known in most lands would make it easy for him to reach foreign lands. With more reach over other lands, he could find a space to operate, have some sort of influence over the world. Naruto and Jiraiya, they had been traveling for 4 days now. Well, not exactly that, they had only traveled for 2 days. And when they reached a town, Jiraiya decided it was best they rested for some time. He had said that they were not going to stop at another town after this one. They would simply head straight to the Lightning Country without any stops. They would only stop for rest. Naruto was not complaining though. He did not mind their pace. He was in no hurry to return to Konoha. Returning to the village, he would only be welcomed by boredom. At least out here he could take a walk and see people he did not see every day of his life. It was refreshing seeing new things than things that were already imprinted within his mind. The image of Konoha and its street was plastered across his mind. He could fairly walk around the village with his eyes closed and never fear about hitting something. He had run around the village countless times during his younger days when he was playing pranks on the villagers. He knew all the hiding spots. He had blueprint of the village in his head. At least he got something from his stupid days. Jiraiya was going to be leaving any minute now. He could see by the look on the man's face. He was increasingly becoming bored and had a look on his face that went towards a brothel. That's how Jiraiya got laid. He had to pay for sex. It was pitiful yet amusing for him. He had no doubt that if he was the type or felt like getting laid, he would never need to pay. He would simply talk his way into it without visiting a brothel or paying any women for the sex. For Jiraiya, despite his fame, women did not throw themselves at him. They never showed any interest in him. Perhaps a few did, but there were only a few of them. What kind of intel are you going to get from your contacts? Naruto asked. Jiraiya was now spotting a dreamy look, but it disappeared as soon as he asked the question. You will know when you meet with them, Jiraiya replied with a shrug of his shoulders. How about we go and have some fun? You are getting at that age and I think it would be normal if you showed some interest in women. Why? You are missing something great, Jiraiya responded. Naruto was missing the pleasures a woman could give a man. He knew all about it. But it would also be great if his godson knew about it too. It would also give him research material and something to write about. I think not, Naruto responded with a wave of his hands. Come on, just come with me, for today only. If you don't agree with me, I will never make a request like this again, Jiraiya said, standing up. I will also think that there is something wrong with you if you don't find it enjoyable, he thought. I'd rather not, Naruto said, turning the Sannin down. I will take a walk outside the town. You can do what you wish. But tomorrow we leave. Fine, the Toad Sage said. But you are missing. He let the words hang. Naruto did not comment any further. He walked out of the room. He always carried his sword when he walked. Perhaps if it was Konoha, he would leave it behind. But this was a foreign town to him. He was just passing by. He could not trust it with his blade. Outside the town, Naruto stopped walking suddenly and turned around as he sensed something. He saw nothing when he turned around, but there was no mistake. He had definitely sensed something. He kept his guard up and looked back to where he had been headed. He could not show signs of distress at this time. He just had to stay calm, and perhaps whoever that he had sensed would reveal himself. He was not paranoid enough to be making things inside his head. He held no illusions that someone was always trying to get him. His senses were always right, unless they were tricked, which had not happened so far. He suddenly came into a halt when again he sensed something behind him. This time his senses were on high alert. He turned around slowly and narrowed his eye. In front of him was a man with short spiky black hair and a fair skin. He was just about an inch taller than him. He wore a black coat that stretched out wide at its end. Under the coat he wore a long-sleeve blood red t-shirt and also wore black cargo pants. This was accompanied by black shinobi boots and blood red fingerless gloves. The feature that stood out the most was in his eye sockets. There was just a black void. Naruto was not sensing anything good from the man. "Can I help you?" he asked stoically. He got no response from the man. He simply moved towards him in a burst of speed that surprised him. The take of the man caused small chunks of earth to peel off. Naruto got into defense seeing an attack incoming. He brought out both his hands and crossed them in front of him to make a defense. He blocked a powerful punch that was directed to his face. The force behind the punch caused him to be rooted to the ground. His feet burrowed on the ground. He winced at the contact. There was some power behind the punch. It made attempting to block another punch next time not so much of a good idea. Naruto leapt backwards to create some distance between himself and the stranger. "Who are you?" he asked calmly. Still, the stranger did not seem to be capable of producing words. The stranger took off towards him again. Naruto took off at the same time. If the man wanted to fight, he would give him a fight. Besides, it was not like he had any other options. The man seemed to want nothing but to fight. For what purpose? He did not know. He did not have any enemies that could want him to die. The man lunged a right hook towards him. It came fast and swift. Naruto brought out his hand to block the attack. This time he was a lot more prepared than last time. He threw another punch towards his face. He used his other to block before pushing the man away from him. He was trying to make him lose balance, but that was unfruitful. Naruto tried a high roundhouse kick at his opponent. He put as much power as he could before the attack. The kick was gracefully caught by the stranger. Naruto made an attempt to forcibly retrieve his foot, but his hold was too tight for him. Seeing that his other foot was caught, Naruto moved his other to attempt to kick the man. The motion caused him to fall on his back, since both his legs used for balance were out of position to balance. His attempt for kick was caught again by the stranger's strong grasp. Before he could hit the ground, the man swung him into the air. He spun several times before throwing him away. The throw was powerful, but Naruto had been under the kind of situations before. He tried his best to regain his balance before flipping several times while still flying towards the tree. He landed on the ground but was still pushed back by the momentum. He did not wait or have to look for his attacker as the man silently appeared before him. The man sent a spinning kick towards his temple. He quickly brought out his for a hasty but effective defense. The kick connected with his defense and sent him flying due to its power. He was sent sailing towards the trees. Naruto allowed the momentum to carry him. He was going to hit the tree with his head first, but when he was about to crash into the tree, he swiftly flipped and hit the tree with his feet. He did not stop. He sort of like bounced off the tree and sped towards his opponent. The speed he was traveling in was fast, but his opponent waited for him as he reached near. He raised his right foot and sent it crashing towards the man's head. The man brought out both his hands in defense. When the back on his foot connected with the defense, it held on. The power behind it forced the man's feet to burrow into the ground. Naruto flipped and returned with a kick to the man's chest. His opponent jumped back to avoid being hit. He landed on the ground and stood there for a second before disappearing off to attack the black-eyed stranger. He charged a Rasengan on his right hand as soon as he reached his opponent. The man blurred out of sight and went behind him. His Rasengan hit the ground with a loud boom and created a crater on the ground. He was forced to be on alert as the stranger was on him again. He sensed him coming, but did not react fast enough to do anything against the kick on his back. That sent him flying. He crashed into a tree, breaking it before recovering. He hit the ground and stared at his opponent. The man was fast and really good. He might end up forgetting that the man just attacked him out of nowhere and start enjoying the battle. So far it was good, and he had been pretty much put on the defensive. He was not going to try to talk to the man. By now he had already realized that he was not going to get any answers. He did not seem to be capable of speaking, or he just preferred to be quiet. He did not mind though. He liked things just the way they were. Without another thought, Naruto dashed in great speeds towards his attacker. The man did the same and met in between. They grabbed both each other's and clashed in a battle of physical prowess. He was no pushover in this department, but in this case, he was evenly matched with his opponent. He began to push chakra behind his push. His opponent seemed to do the same. Their battle forced both of them to burrow into the ground. The release of chakra forced debris around them to pick up. Naruto got a closer look at those black eyes. There was nothing in them. They were just a black void with eternal darkness. There was no life in them. He could not see anything from them. They merely stared at him. Naruto headbutted his opponent, seeing that the struggle for power was not going to end soon. His move seemed to have surprised the man. It was as if he was not expecting him to do it. The hands broke apart, and Naruto used the momentarily loss of balance by his to his advantage. He flashed through hand seals faster than the normal eyes could see. Futon. K's no Panchi, he muttered and released compressed wind in the shape on a punch. The wind punch hit his opponent head on in the gut and sent him flying. The man was quick to recover from the attack. He landed gracefully on the ground, but Naruto was before him in a flash. He had moved faster than he had been. He jumped into the air and attempted to deliver a powerful midair kick. The kick did just end as an attempt. It hit the man straight and hard in his face. The powerful kick sent him away from Naruto. The blonde landed on the ground and waited for his opponent to recover. The movements of the stranger were calculated and not wasted. The attacks also had a lot of power behind them. He was curious as to who the man was. He had managed to surprise him with his speed. He wondered though how long he would keep it up without having to use some of his special moves. The stranger recovered quickly and walked towards Naruto. He stood and stared at the blonde as if inviting him to attack. Naruto did not think it over. He went straight towards the man. He used his great speed again. He appeared in front of the man and jumped into the air. His jump was fast and caused cracks on the ground. He swung his right foot horizontally towards his opponent. The man reacted quickly by bending to avoid the blow. Naruto spun around with the momentum of the kick. He was forced to go on the defensive when the man he was fighting against attempted to kick him while he was still spinning around. He channeled chakra into his feet before the man's kick hit him. When it did hit, he felt nothing. He blurred away from him. The stranger was at him again. He lunged himself at him and attempted to punch him. Naruto ducked under the punch and attempted to punch him in the gut, but his punch was caught. The man yanked his hand towards him and drove his fist towards his face. Naruto tilted his head to avoid the punch, but his opponent did not stop there. He twisted his hand painfully and pulled backwards before letting go of his hand. Before Naruto could do anything, he was kicked painfully on his face. The kick sent him flying away. He was quick to recover, nonetheless. He recovered in the form of going through hand seals, Futon. De Topper. He released powerful gusts of winds that sped towards the black-eyed stranger. The gusts picked up debris as they rushed towards the target. He was not expecting the jutsu, hence he was sent flying by it. The jutsu sent him away, but he recovered quickly and landed on the ground with both his feet. Naruto also did the same. He summoned a kunai and shuriken pouch, before placing it on its rightful place. He took out 4 kunais, and held them with both his hands 2 in each. He disappeared into the trees. The stranger stood calmly staring at the spot Naruto had been standing before he disappeared. He did not look too concerned about the sudden disappearance of Naruto. A kunai came flying towards him in great speed. He disappeared from his position. The kunai burrowed into the ground as it had missed its target. More kunais came flying towards him. He was able to skillfully dodge them all. Naruto had been throwing them from different directions, 1 or 2 at a time, though. Suddenly he changed tactics and sent a shower of them towards the man. He disappeared from his spot and appeared on top of a tree branch. Naruto appeared before him with a Rasengan on his hand. He drove the Rasengan towards the man's gut, but he dodged it by jumping into the air. The Rasengan hit the tree and destroyed it. Just then, as the man was in midair, another Naruto came fast towards him, not giving him a chance to react. He was holding his blade his left hand. He changed hands and held the blade with his right hand. Before he swung in across the man's chest, Kaminari Kata, the blade was crackling with lightning as he swung it. The Naruto that had charged the Rasengan disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving the one holding the sword of the Flying Thunder God. The man had already disappeared after being cut. He jumped into the clearing away from the trees, looked at his blade as it was dripping something dark red. It was blood, but way dark. It almost looked like it was not even blood, but some sort of liquid. He flicked it, ridding of the blood. He was again forced to be on the defensive when the stranger appeared before him. He was holding a black blade that seemed to be made of solid chakra. He could feel that it was definitely chakra. Naruto parried the slash that came across his face. He pushed back before swinging his own blade across the man's chest. The stranger blocked the slash with his own blade. The blades become locked up in a battle of power as they tried to see which was the sharpest and strongest. Naruto stopped pushing and jumped back. Kaminari Kata, he muttered, swinging his sword horizontally. The sword released a lighting blade that sped towards the opponent. The technique was the same as the one he had used earlier. The difference was that this time he had resealed the lightning from his sword. Last time he had not released it. It was almost unavoidable when they shot it towards an opponent. Its speed was great, that only the fastest would be able to dodge it. But when he used it while maintaining it on his blade, it could be avoidable. But when used with the sword, it dealt more damage to the opponent. The last time he had used it, his opponent had slightly dodged it, but he had hit him across his chest. There was a wound across the chest where the blade had it. It was just no deep though. The lightning cutter was at his opponent in mere seconds. The man brought out both his hands and shielded himself against the attack. The attack hit him and seemed to go past him. It hit just below his shoulders. From where the jutsu had cut, his coat fell to the ground after being cut. His shirt also. There was a slash across his chest caused by the jutsu. The gash was also on his back. It took seconds for the second gash to start leaking blood. Naruto was before the stranger before he could recover from his attack. He drove his blade towards the man's chest. The target did enough to move away slightly to avoid being pierced on his chest. The blade ended up piercing his right shoulder. With how deep the blade had entered his flesh, anyone would have first attempted to remove it. But not his man. He seemed to have shrugged off the wound and grabbed Naruto's right hand which held the blade. He was about to cut Naruto with his own blade when the blonde held a single hand seal, Futen. Shinkyu Dengen he did so faster before he could be hit. He released a vacuum bullet from his mouth. The bullet hit the man on his chest, hard. It pushed him back slightly. It was obvious he had used his power to stand his ground. This caused him to let his grip on his hand loose. Naruto did not waste time. He jumped into the air and spun around, delivering a power kick to the man's temple. The kick sent him flying, but Naruto was not done. While the man was still on flight, he appeared above him and clasped his hands together, Futen. K's no hammer. He did so, sending a heavy blow to the man. The wind hammer hit him hard and sent him crashing towards the ground. Naruto landed onto the ground and waited for the man to get up. He knew that his efforts were not enough. Soon enough, the man was up on his feet. His upper body's clothes were messed up, and the deep wound on his shoulder was leaking blood. He was also spotting several bruises. Naruto flashed through hand seals. He was not too concerned about the enemy. He still looked he wanted to fight. Futen. K's shuriken, multiple wind shurikens formed beside him. They spun around for a second before he sent them towards the opponent. The opponent held both his hands together before he released some powerful gusts of wind that deflected the shurikens away from him. The topper. So he can use ninjutsu too. Well, I should have expected that, Naruto thought, looking at his opponent. The black-eyed man rushed towards him with some debris picking up behind. Naruto sensed a rise of chakra from him. The chakra was unlike anything he had ever sensed before. It was foul and sinister, even more sinister than the Kyuubi's. He also felt the Kyuubi shift inside the cage. While the man was dashing towards him, he went through hand seals before releasing fireballs. Naruto knew that it was no ordinary Kaiten jutsu. That is, it was Kaiten. The flames were too hot and intense for any fire-style jutsu. He took out his blade again and held it in front of him. Kaminari no Shiheki, he said, so channeling chakra into his blade. A lightning barrier erected in front of and stood like a wall. His blade was the source of it as he conducted the lightning though it. The flames hit his barrier and tried to break it, but Naruto put more chakra behind it to enforce it. He was not about to be burned. After the struggle, the barrier died down along with the flames. Naruto widened his eyes slightly when his opponent greeted him with a punch under his chin. It did not end there. A knee to his gut followed, causing to wince painfully. This was followed by a punch to his face. Naruto had to say the punch was chakra enhanced. He did not believe that anyone could punch that hard. The punch sent him rocketing towards the trees away from the clearing. Naruto hit a couple of trees as the momentum carried before finally stopping. He hit the ground painfully and took some time to stand up. He did so panting. Nothing was broken except for his nose and a few bruises, along with his slightly tattered clothes. He was forced to abandon his position when a breath of scorching flames came towards him. He replaced himself with a log before disappearing back to the clearing. The stranger flashed back to the clearing. Futen. Shinkyuha. Naruto took a deep breath and spun around while compressing into a solitary wind blade. The jutsu blasted off around him, cutting everything on its path. Unfortunately, it was not his opponent. He only got a few tree with the large wind blade. He looked around for his opponent as he could not sense him. He quickly sensed him when he felt a spike of chakra. The stranger was charging a small ball of black energy on his palm. Naruto could feel that there was a lot of chakra on the technique. The man held out his hand palm facing Naruto. Shit, Naruto cursed as a beam of black energy shot towards him. It would definitely not end well for him if he got it by whatever the jutsu was. He quickly went through hand seals. Futen. K's no Shiheki. He yelled before clasping his hands together. An invincible barrier of wind quickly formed in front of him. Naruto cursed again when the black energy hit his barrier. The technique was a lot stronger than he had thought. Keeping up the barrier was a difficult task because he had not molded enough chakra. Boom. There was an explosion right in front of Naruto. The explosion picked up large amounts of debris. and created some gusts of winds. When the debris cleared, Naruto was seen with both his hands stretched out. Both hands had some burns towards his elbows. His front was also burned slightly. He was also breathing heavily. Naruto looked at his hands. Had he not quickly coated most of his body with wind chakra, he would have been burned severely. What was that jutsu? He thought. The jutsu had left its footsteps on the ground when it traveled towards him. There was also a large crater in front of him. He was snapped out of his thoughts when the stranger appeared in front of him with his right hand stretched out towards him. Shit, he cursed as he saw the same jutsu being charged at him. He quickly disappeared in a yellow flash before the jutsu was blasted across the clearing. He had marked a tree earlier during the fight. He disappeared back to the clearing to see the man waiting for him. Two clones came into existence before him. One created a Rasengan before charging towards the enemy. Naruto held out his right hand and formed a Rasengan, but the Rasengan changed shape and became a four-bladed shuriken. The screeching noise followed. Naruto looked to see how his clone was doing. He smiled. It was busy. The other clone stretched out both its hands towards the jutsu Naruto held. It channeled fire chakra into the jutsu. Within seconds, Naruto held his complete jutsu. The jutsu was now in complete fire, literally. He winced when he got memories from his destroyed clone. It was the same jutsu that burned his hands that destroyed his clone. His opponent turned his focus to him. The black eyes looked at his jutsu curiously. It did not matter now. He had completed his jutsu. He took out a three-pronged kunai with his left hand and threw it at the man. The man merely tilted his head to avoid it. But he did not expect Naruto to suddenly appear before him via a yellow flash. Shakutan, Rasen Shuriken. He yelled, hitting the stranger the powerful jutsu. As soon as it hit, he disappeared again in a yellow flash to avoid being caught in the blast. Boom. A large scorching explosion rocketed throughout the battlefield, causing Naruto to shield his eyes. There was a large crater, larger than any other as a result of the explosion. There was no sign of the attacker. Naruto smiled. He had never tried the jutsu before. Itachi had burned him from using S-rank jutsus while at the hideout. It was a success. It had done what he had created it for, turn the enemy into ash. He sighed and sat down to recover his breath. Meanwhile, Orochimaru chuckled darkly with a satisfied grin. After watching the battle with Naruto and his test subject, he had been watching from afar. Who better to give him the data he required than the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki? Naruto-kun has become strong and is quite skilled, Kabuto commented, impressed with the blonde's skills. He was indeed wrong when he said Naruto had no shinobi skills, but he could not forget that the Naruto back then and now were different. Indeed, he has, Orochimaru said after getting his laughter under control. I am surprised that he can use Minato's jutsu. That last jutsu was powerful. I am interested in it certainly. He would not mind using a jutsu of that power. He always was craving for new jutsus. The jutsu Naruto had used to obliterate his test subject was interesting and wonderfully attracting. The test subject did better than I had expected. A pity Naruto-kun destroyed it. We could have taken its remains and studied them further, Kabuto stated, the disappointment clear in his voice. Any scientist would be sad at the loss of such a subject. Don't worry about that, we still have the original. That was just a clone of the original I made. I wanted to see how a clone would do before I could finish work on the original. It is a curious specimen, isn't it? Hi, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said with a nod. I am still amazed that you created something like this. Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto was indeed impressed. He knew his master was a genius. The man was a work of genius himself. But this was just special. He had never seen anything like it before. Even he could not create something indigenous as this. He would never come close to doing so. He wished his master had allowed him to be involved though. He had only been useful in collecting data and the DNA Orochimaru wanted. He also knew what went around and what he was creating. But he was not involved with the creation process. Orochimaru had insisted on doing it alone. Perhaps since he was brought here today, they would finish the weapon together. After seeing the blueprints of the project his master had invested his time on, he had become increasingly curious and a bit excited to see it. But Orochimaru was oddly keeping him out of it. And that fool Danzu thought I could not create it, Orochimaru said with a snort. The weapon's power is astonishing. If the copy could do this, what more will be the original be able to do? The prospect of finding out thrills me, the Snake Sannin said, grinning in all corners. In all honesty, he was excited. This was his pet project. Like any scientist, he was happy when his research finally paid off. And now he had just witnessed the result of his research and hard work. He will certainly be happy when he does get his hands on it, Kabuto said. He doubted that his master would give the project to Danzu if it proved to exceed his expectations. He knew his master better. Yes. But I might just decide to keep it for myself. Yep, he definitely knew his master better than anyone. Let's go. Kabuto, we have work to finish, Orochimaru stated. He had seen what he wanted to see and had collected enough competitive data. He had witnessed his creation battle. Even though it ended up being destroyed in a way he would not have wished for it to be, he was still happy. He would not have minded to take it back to his hideout. and use it for further research. Hi, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said, and followed his master like any faithful servant. He smiled though when he heard Orochimaru say we. That had to mean they were going to finish the project together. He would be satisfied with it even despite not having taken any real part in the creation. Back with Naruto, there was a question ringing inside his head. Who was this man he had killed? He did not get any answers before the man died. He did not even say a word to him. That left him curious. Who could it have been and who sent him? No one would surely just randomly come to attack and be killed. This was far from something to be called a coincidence or something that just happens. He had a feeling that the man sent to battle, specifically him. But for what purpose? Was it an attempt on his life? No, it did not certainly look that way. It seemed that the man just wanted to battle before he died. So then why did he just want to battle on with him? So many questions that required to be answered. And he was not going to get any of the answers, since he had turned a stranger into ash. But knowing that the stranger was gone to not stop the questions raining inside his head, anyone would be curious about the event that had just taken place. But he was not paranoid enough to think that an assassin or a mercenary was sent to kill him. He had no such thoughts. But that just left more questions he could not answer, nor even come close to figuring out. Naruto looked at himself. His hands were still spotting burns. The technique that had hit him was really powerful. He had not seen anything like it before. It shot at him like a deadly beam of energy. He knew it was no ordinary jutsu if he could hurt him like that. He was glad though his secondary defense held on, or perhaps he would have been severely injured, but the burns he had suffered were not anything serious. Kyuubi would begin healing them anytime soon. He had not sustained any other alarming injury. He was a bit tired though. The man knew how to punch and kick. He had felt like he was being kicked by Guy all over again. The man was also fast and seemed to have been calm the entire time they battled. He did not show any signs of distress or any emotion for that matter. Jiraiya whistled as he looked at Naruto. I see that is what you have been hiding, he said, walking towards the blonde. He had witnessed some of the battle. You have some good defensive jutsus, and can use 3 elements. I did notice that you use lightning through your blade, which leads me to believe that your lightning element is not quite strong without the blade electric blade. Still, you use your sword very excellently, the Sannin stated. And after all that battle, all he got were burns on both his hands. I do think there is more to it, he thought. Naruto stood up and looked at Jiraiya blankly. The Sannin continued, I was right after all to recommend you to him for the promotion of Jounin. Really, Jiraiya? That is what is most important here. I just was attacked by an unknown man, Naruto stated calmly. Take the compliment, brat. Some people would kill to be complimented by one of the Sannin, Jiraiya stated irritated. And besides, there is nothing to work on since you destroyed everything. I doubt he was going to talk anyway. He did not say a word the entire we fought, Naruto said nonchalantly. What was that technique you used? Jiraiya asked, genuinely curious about the technique. Anyone would be interested in a jutsu that can turn anyone to ash. Rasengan, as the base mixed with wind and fire chakra, Naruto said. Oh, you completed the Rasengan. Minato was never able to do that. How long did it take you to do it? Not too long, Naruto gave a vague answer. He was not wearing a forehead protector to define which village he came from. Now Naruto was going back to more serious matters. I did not recognize him from anywhere. Not even that jutsu he used, the Sannin stated with a thoughtful expression. For all his years of living, he had seen a variety of jutsus, but the jutsu he had seen was unlike any other. He was also curious as to who the stranger was. A pity Naruto had destroyed his body. He could have sent it to Konoha to be examined. Did you sense it? Jiraiya nodded, his expression becoming slightly serious. He had sensed how sinister the chakra of the man felt. The feeling did not make him feel comfortable at all. He was used to feeling such foul chakra from Jinchuriki or Bijus, but not a normal shinobi. His chakra was black. Have you ever seen anyone with black chakra? Jiraiya shook his head. Even Orochimaru, who was evil in all sense of the word, did not have evil chakra. It felt like a Biju's chakra, Naruto said, bringing both his hands in front. It is also a lot more potent and harmful. My burns have yet to disappear. Normally such things would have already disappeared, but the process of healing is taking longer than it should. Jiraiya looked at Naruto's hands. Indeed, his burns were still visible. Naruto healed faster because of Kyuubi and his Uzumaki genes. Burns like that would have healed a long time ago, but because what caused them was not normal, the burns were taking their time to disappear. I will send a word to Haim, he said finally. I doubt she will know something, and it is not like that man will just appear again. Naruto sighed sadly as he looked around his surrounding. He had just been given a task to dispose a bandit camp and retrieve a stolen item. The item was nothing special in his eyes. It was just a sword. But Jiraiya had said it was more than just a normal sword. There was something special about it. Perhaps it held some sort of sentimental value. The Sannin did not feel like explaining anything more to him, and did not say anything. He did not bother to pester about it. He was just left to deal with the bandits and retrieve the item. Failure was not an option, Jiraiya had made that clear. But he had not been hoping to fail. Perhaps he had failed in his past days, but he did not look to see more failures. He understood that he could not always be perfect at everything, but when he could do something to be successful in all he does, he would surely use his effort to succeed. Their bandits had not posed him a problem at all. All he needed was some stealth skills and fast movements. He had all that and then some. He was by faster than the bandits. He was superior to them in all ways. He did not have to struggle with dealing with them. He had taken care of them in a flash. Bandits were not strong. They could be called weak. Even Genins could handle without suffering loss. They were just untrained thugs who fed on those weaker than them. It was a bit of a relief that they were not that powerful. Had they been, women everywhere would definitely suffer. Because shinobi are superior to them, bandits always stay away from their way. They know that should a confrontation be ignited, they would be killed. Some shinobi were merciless killers to these kind of people. Bandits were vile, truly despicable beings. They raped women till there was no life in them, and when the life had left them, they would kill them as they were no longer of use to them. He could never understand what sort of human would laugh while the other begs for mercy. He could not stand something like that, but even so, when he could not stand something like that, he could not go around killing every bandit that existed. One may say that he was ridding the world of all that was evil, but he still believed that there was redemption. Nevertheless, he would not allow women to suffer because of this belief. If killing one bandit were to save countless women from suffering the horrors of being used as sex slaves, he would dirty his hands. The past men who had sought for peace did things differently. They were never dirtied their hands. They despised fighting and always looked to solve things without fights. But it had proved that shinobi were not looking to listen to anyone regardless of how powerful they were. He did believe that people could understand each, but at the same time, he would kill should it be necessary. It was hard to take, but that only proved that he was still human. Itachi had taught him that, and he would never forget it. Even if he killed, even if someone screamed at him murderer, he would never take it to heart and sink into depression. Itachi had killed his entire clan. He had cried when it happened. But now he no longer did. He did not feel sad or anything when he was called a murderer. If ridding the world of all that was evil could get him called a murderer, he would happily accept it, as long as he knew there was some good that he was doing. He was looking for peace, nothing else. He knew that anyone could become evil, anyone could be swayed into doing all that was dark. If he were to just kill everyone who was evil, he would end up killing the whole world. That was why he had chosen not to just become a merciless killer. He would still choose to believe that people could change. But even so, he knew that some people were beyond redemption. He did not want to become a god of the world and judge the world of its sins. He was just going to have to be wise in making his decisions. He would also make things differently and act differently. His predecessors had failed, all following the same path and doing things similar. But he would do things differently, and ensure that he would not fail. He would not rest until the world took the way of peace. This desire was so great that he thought that even if he were to get killed before peace was within his grasp, he would come back to life and fight for peace. But someone like him who would have his hands filled with blood would not be worthy to lead a peaceful world. He could take it to peace, but that which was impure could not lead something that was pure. Someone with pure hands would have to do that. But at the moment, he was not worried about that. He had yet to take any steps for peace. He wanted to see the world a bit more to make his move. He had to know each of the cages, their personalities, and ideals. He had to have that info before making a choice. This little trip with Jiraiya would give him that opportunity. He had already established himself in some small villages. That was good. If he were to call for support, he knew that he would have the support he needed. Looking back at the bandit camp, Jiraiya had told him to kill everyone at the camp, because if he did not, they would continue to do evil. They would move on to the next town and abduct women for their amusement. Killing, that was a part of his job as a shinobi. But he refused to kill just anyone. The Sannin had said that people of this nature were beyond redemption, and that there was nothing good about them. All they knew to do was to abduct and rape. If left alive, they would continue to rape and abduct. He would certainly blame himself if he saw the men he had left alive raping other women. It would be in his consciousness for all eternity. But he would do his best to ensure that something like that did not happen. He did not want to make such blunders that would cause other people to suffer. You finished that rather quickly, Jiraiya commented as he walked towards Naruto. The blonde was standing in the middle of the camp with the item he was supposed to retrieve in hand. I thought you would not, given your reluctance to kill everyone. Naruto turned around and looked at Jiraiya blankly. He threw the blade he had at the Sannin. We should be at Kumogaka by today. Correct. It was still around noon. They could reach there tonight. But he wanted to relax before getting to Kumogaka, yes, he said, and looked at Naruto carefully. He had expected the blonde to say something about the mission he had just completed. He had been reluctant to do it, so he thought he would have something to say after it. It was not best to keep shouldering things on his own. Naruto nodded and began to walk past Jiraiya. "Let us go. You still have to return that sword," the blonde stated as if he was the one in charge of their little adventure. "I will return it at some later date," the Sannin replied, still staring at Naruto. "If you want to talk about it, you can with me. I have experience with these things," he said in a quiet and inviting tone. Naruto did not even turn to look at Jiraiya as he responded. "Godfather," Jiraiya cringed at the word. "If I wanted some advice from you, I would have asked you for it. But I don't need it, hence I did not ask. I am fine. If you think that I am that weak-minded that I need to cry on your shoulder each time I do this kind of mission, then you certainly do not know me." He paused for a moment. "Now let us go. I do not want to sleep another night under a tree." Jiraiya sighed. "Fine, you don't be so harsh about it," he said, following the blonde from behind. Still, it would please him if Naruto opened up to him. The blonde was a closed book to him. No matter what key he tried to use, he just could not unlock it to see what was written inside it. He was very curious to know what was written in the book. Well, he still has time. He would find out what little by little. "What were you able to find about that thing that I fought a while ago?" Naruto questioned, walking calmly with Jiraiya by his side as the Sannin had caught up to him. They were not traveling by the trees. They were already in the lightning country, so it was no use to run. "It is no longer a human?" Jiraiya questioned with a raised brow. "Something leads me to believe that it was no human. I used that jutsu again when we were fighting those missing nins from Iowa. I was curious, but unlike with that thing, the jutsu did not turn the Iowa nin to ash," Naruto explained briefly. The Iowa missing nin they had fought were some fools who had said that they wanted Naruto's head. His similarities to his father were not being ignored by some people, especially a Wagaka shinobi. The shinobi they had encountered had said they had become rogue for the purpose of killing him. They were not even sure if he was related to Minato, but because he was similar to the man in likeness, they believed that he was related to Konoha's Yellow Flash. They were not off the mark, but still, they did not have any evidence to prove that claim, and yet fought to kill him. That was just a show of how much hatred some Iowa shinobi held for his father. He did not want to be paying for his father's actions. He was his own man and would create his own legacy. "So you used someone like a test dummy," Jiraiya said, surprised that Naruto would do something like that. "He was dying after I had stabbed him through the chest with his blade," Naruto said. He had not used his own blade to fight someone who was not worthy of its power. The man was dying anyway. Whether he had used his jutsu to test a theory or not, the man would have died from his wound. The jutsu just put him away from more pain. Perhaps he only thought that to soothe his soul, so you decided to make him useful because he was dying, Jiraiya said. His tone was clearly suggesting something, and it seemed that he wanted to force something out of Naruto. He wanted the blonde to say something or perhaps realize what he had done. "If you have something to say, Jiraiya, just say it," Naruto said with narrowed eyes. "I dislike people who go around me to say something. If you can't say what you want to say, answer my question or just shut up if you don't want to answer. Minato was never this rude me. He always gave me the respect I deserved," Jiraiya grumbled quietly. "No, I have not been able to find anything. There is nothing to work with really," he said, answering Naruto's question. "Disappointing. I had thought you would have found something," Naruto said flatly. Jiraiya felt no insult in those words, so he did not say anything. It seemed that the blonde was only expressing his disappointment in not being able to find anything about the thing that had attacked him. "Have the former Akatsuki members been causing trouble?" Jiraiya shook his head. "They have been oddly quiet over the past days. I had thought that they would be matching around the world causing chaos, but I don't think they will be silent for long," the Sannin explained with a thoughtful look on his face. "I would imagine so," Naruto said. "Perhaps they are planning for something. I doubt that. Without the Akatsuki leader to make them cooperate with each other, they can never work together. Strong people always have different ideals, and they will always clash. An organization in which members always fight would never last or achieve anything. They will most likely destroy themselves from within," Jiraiya said in a mature tone. "I did not think they would work together. I am aware of those facts. The leader of Akatsuki was the strongest. He had to have always put down his authority to get everyone in line. It makes you wonder how strong the man was if he could control 9S-rank criminals on his own." Naruto became silent. He could never know just how strong Pain was given that the man was now dead. He could only hear about the man's power, but he would never be able to see it for himself. Well, at least now the Akatsuki was no more. Jinchuriki would no longer have to be fearful about their lives. Akatsuki was no more, the danger was gone. They could now only think about moving forward with life and see what it brings. But life was so full of surprises. You might rejoice today thinking the danger was gone, but tomorrow you find yourself waking up with the danger glaring down your face. It was best to just be prepared for anything that life threw at you. Kumogaku, after reaching the village and gaining entrance, Jiraiya and Naruto had went to a hotel which they would stay at during this time within the village. After that, nothing much was said to the other. Jiraiya had to meet with his people, and Naruto did not really care for that. Jiraiya's business was his own. Naruto had used this time to leave and mind his own business. They had a few days within the village. They had no hurry to return to Konoha. It was not like there was some emergency that need their attention. With Akatsuki gone, Konoha was relaxed without having to worry about anything troubling or disturbing their peace. With that reason, even the strongest in the village could be away without having to fear someone attacking the village while they were away. Jiraiya had simply told him not to get into trouble, and they could leave in 2 or 3 days. Naruto had looked at the Sannin blankly when he had told him not to get into trouble. It was as if he was some misbehaving child that needed to be reminded of where he was. Out of the two of them, he should have been the one to tell Jiraiya to behave his age instead of a child. Seeing that stare of Naruto at that time, the Sannin had accepted that perhaps those words weren't suited for Naruto. Perhaps the old Naruto would have surely done something to get into trouble, but this one was a lot more mature and smarter enough to realize that some things should not be done, especially since they were no longer in their home village. This was Kumogaku. They had to tread carefully so not to cause any trouble between this village and Konoha. The villagers were already recovering from their strained relationship that had been caused when Kumogaku had attempted to abduct a Hyuga. This village loved bloodlines. People with bloodlines were treated specially in this village. But even so, they lacked them, unlike Konoha and Kurigaka. These two villages boasted the most bloodlines out of all the great 5 hidden villages. Despite being huge, Kumogaku lacked them. But the Hyuga incident had occurred during the Sandaime Raikage's tenure. Now, since it was the Yondaime Raikage leading the village, things had cooled down as the current Raikage had made efforts to calm the tensions. After Jiraiya had left the hotel, Naruto had applied a Hiraishin seal inside the room, before leaving in a flash of yellow to the home he shared with Itachi. But upon arriving there, he did not find the Uchiha. He figured the man might have gone somewhere else. He wanted to go see Conan before returning to Konoha, but there was still some time before he returned home. He still had to go to Kurigaka before going back, so he was not worried about anything. He had left a note to Itachi saying that he would be there at the hideout in 2 days. If Itachi were to return, he would find the note and wait for him to come. He did not want to be summoned by a Hiraishin kunai. That would bring him questions should he be with Jiraiya when summoned. Currently, Naruto was at a secluded training ground within Kumo. It was no problem since he was not using the training ground. He was simply sitting there, meditating. But he never got quite to enjoy his meditation. He was pulled to his mindscape. Naruto stared at the large eyes of the Kyuubi. It was very surprising for the beast to have called him. It never did that before. He was always the one to ignite the conversations with the beast, but they could speak without the other insulting the other. But still, he was the one to come here. The Kyuubi had never pulled him here. "What is it?" he asked quietly. "You felt it too, didn't you?" the Kyuubi said in its deep tone, while staring down at Naruto's small form. "You have to be specific," Naruto responded without faltering his stare. He was used to the stare the Kyuubi always gave. He had no fears for it. It might be because he knew the beast could not touch him while it was still locked inside the seal. "When you were fighting that man you now called a thing, the Biju said. It was not bothered by Naruto's response. The blonde was not the one to waste time or beat around the bush. He was straightforward with his words. "The evil chakra," Naruto said. "Yes, I sensed it. What did you think of it?" "You have noticed that I have been curious about that thing since I fought it," Naruto said. The Kyuubi did not say anything, since Naruto did not really ask a question. "I felt traces of your chakra when I destroyed it. It was faint though, but I could never mistake your chakra." "I sensed that too," the Kyuubi said, "but that was not all that I sensed. It was not my chakra only, there were also other Biju's chakra I was able to sense." Naruto was silent for a few moments. "Are you saying that thing had your chakra and other Biju's chakra? How would that be even possible?" He was as calm as he could be when he asked the questions. "I don't really know," the Kyuubi replied. "I just thought I should inform you, since you have been bothered by it." As those words left the Biju's mouth, its eyes closed, signaling the end of the conversation. Naruto turned around and began to walk away from the Biju. "I should not be concerned about this since I destroyed that thing, but why do I have a sick feeling that this is not over?" he questioned himself. Naruto kept his eyes closed as continued to work on how it could be possible for that thing to have more than one Biju's chakra. While he was busy with those thoughts, he felt someone appear before him, but the person did not do anything. He or she merely stood there like they were observing him, and so Naruto went on with his thoughts. How could it be possible? He had never heard of anything like that before. And why did that thing come to him specifically? It had not spoken to him. It did not even say a single word. The chakra was anything like he had ever seen before. He was even denser than the Kyuubi's. Perhaps it was because, as the Kyuubi said, there was more than one Biju's chakra. Naruto sighed and opened his eyes as he felt that the person was not leaving him alone. He saw a beautiful blonde woman standing in front of him with both her hands rested on her waist. "And here, I was thinking you would disappear if I just ignored you," he said honestly. Yujito merely shrugged at his honesty. "This is my training ground," she said. "If anything, I had thought if I stared at you for some time, you would disappear from my training ground and allow me to train. We would have been at an impasse if this was my home village," Naruto stated. "But I am just a visitor here and am trespassing in your place." He made no attempt to stand up as he spoke those words. It was like he was merely stating them, but he was not going to leave. "Yes, so what is it going to be?" Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment. "Considering that you did not kick me the moment you found me here and are still talking nicely to me, I can say that you don't want me to leave." He paused for a moment. "So, what is it going to be?" He returned her question. Yujito brought out her hand. "Yujito Nai," she said. Naruto brought out his own hand and shook hers. "Naruto Namikaze," he said. He had not been hiding to anyone the fact that his family name was Namikaze. Uzumaki was also a family name, but from his mother, his birth name was Namikaze. He had not hidden anything to anyone, not even in Konoha. The truth would surely be found. It was best that it came out on his own terms instead of someone's. "Namikaze," Yujito said. "Well, you do look awfully a lot like him," she said, not making a big deal out of his surname. Naruto was not surprised by this. It was what he expected from everyone. "So does everyone say," Naruto said flatly. "What brings Konoha Shinobi in Kumogaka?" Yujito asked, settling beside the other blonde. Naruto shrugged. "I am merely accompanying Jiraiya to rid of the boredom I have been feeling in Konoha." He felt no need to lie to Yujito. "Has the Raikage only sent you here to question what I am doing here?" The question by means did not catch Yujito off guard. "What makes you say that? This may truly be your training ground, but nobody trains at this time of the day, and it seems to me that this training ground has not been used for some time. If it had been, I would have been able to feel your Biju's chakra. Given that Kumo Jinchuriki never fight without using their Biju's power," Naruto explained calmly without pause. Yujito was not surprised that he knew she was a Jinchuriki. Well, everyone in Kumogaka knew she was a Jinchuriki. Her status was not hidden from the villagers. "You are right. I have not been training here in a few days, but I was not sent by Raikage-sama here. I just overheard him talking with his Anbu that the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and possibly the son of Konoha's Yellow Flash was in the village. So I just thought I would check you out. It is not every day that you meet another Jinchuriki from another village." Naruto had raised an eyebrow as she spoke. "I would expect people of suspect that the Yondaime was my father, but my Jinchuriki status? No, it has been a closely guarded secret in Konoha," the blonde stated. The Sandaime had made sure the fact that he was a Jinchuriki was kept secret, and did not leave the village walls. Even though the old generation were aware of it, they were not permitted to talk about it. It was a crime punishable with death should they even say Kyuubi. It was obvious to Yujito why his status would be kept hidden, but Konoha had a good reputation about it. She did not think they could be just as bad as other villages. "So even the almighty Konoha hates Jinchuriki." The comment about almighty was said in a rather sarcastic tone. Naruto merely smiled. "You would think they would not, but they are not different. But it is unlike Kumogaka. The Raikage's brother is hailed as a hero of the village, and you too in most parts," he stated. Killer B, the Raikage's brother, was hailed as the guardian of Kumo. But it was not always like that. He was hated at first, but they warmed up for it. "Yeah," Yujito said. Something clicked on her mind. "You are the son of the man who died protecting Konoha and the villagers hated you. That must have been really hell." At times it was, Naruto admitted. He was not going to tell her that he did not know that Minato was his father until after the Sound/Sand invasion, and he was only told by Itachi. Had it not been for the Uchiha, he probably would have been in the dark about his heritage even now. Konoha was also not aware of the fact that his father was Minato. He doubted it would have made a difference if they had known though. Perhaps if Minato was alive. But that was that. It really does suck being a Jinchuriki at times. But it has its benefits, Yujito said, earning a small nod from Naruto. "Were you really bored in Konoha?" "Yeah, I had absolutely nothing to do than to have a few training sessions with two good people," Naruto responded, smiling at the thought of calling Guy and Lee good people. Well, they were the most honest and hardworking duo he had ever known. "That does not sound too boring," Yujito said. "Well, that is unless you don't have a social life." Naruto shrugged. People he would call friends were rather loud. They had no plans like he did. He forfeited his right to have fun in pursuit of his dream. His peers were always thinking about having fun boyfriends and girlfriends. They did not think about world peace. Only Shikamaru did not have thoughts like the rest. But even so with his dream, It did not mean he would abandon his humanity. It was far from it. The thing was that he prioritized in finding peace first and having life as a young fellow. If he were to leave his goal, his heart would never find rest. He could never rest peacefully and forget about what really happened out there in the dark shadows. He may not be powerful enough to stop all evil, but he would gather all the power he needed, and all the helpers he would need to make his dream come true. The two then continued on talking about this and that. Nothing serious was being said. Naruto was just pleased that he had managed to get to know another Jinchuriki. For his plans, he had to be familiar with all of them, if not most of them. Bijus were seen as means to balance the power between villages. But it was no longer like that. He knew what Jinchuriki go through in their lives. They would not be difficult to sway and get to work with him. But for now, he would see out their personalities before making his dream known to them. With them behind him, his plans would be put into motion. "Hey, do you want go and get something to eat?" Yujito said calmly. "Sure, why not?" Naruto said, standing up. He could use something to eat. Time was flying fast towards evening. "Shall we?" Yujito stood up with a small smile on her face. "I know a good place where we can eat. You will like it," she said rather happily. The following day, Naruto landed on the ground with both his feet. He had just dodged another lightning jutsu from Yujito. She woman was very persistent and tireless in her efforts to hit him with her jutsus. But because he did not want to reveal too much of his strength, he was put at a disadvantage. The only thing he was any good at the moment was his speed. He was superior to Yujito in speed, and was not foolish enough to make mistakes to be caught. He was always alert when fighting. He knew that Jinjutsu would not work on her, since she had a good relationship with her Biju. Her beast would zap her out of it quickly, should he succeed in putting her under one. It would make his efforts useless because he won't have the time to do what he wants to do. Yujito landed down on the ground a few feet away from him. She did not look too pleased at him. Her look was somewhat a glare. "Come on, Naruto. I know we don't know each that much. We only started talking yesterday. But come on, this is becoming infuriating if you keep playing this way. It is not like I'm going to tell the Raikage of your skills or anything. You have not sensed that he is watching, have you?" Naruto asked with a blank look across his face. The Raikage along with Jiraiya were watching their little sparring session from afar. He would have thought she had have sensed them, but he could guess that she was too focused on him and their surroundings. "Huh! The Raikage and Jiraiya are watching now as we speak," Naruto said, pointing at his left side. A distance away, the said men were standing beside each other on top of a large rock observing them. Yujito looked and saw them. She smiled. "This is more reason to take this seriously. I will tell you a little secret. The Raikage respects men with muscles. If you are weak, then he won't respect you, and won't even listen to what you have to say," she explained calmly. Naruto did not know why she would tell him that, but it worked well for him. If the Raikage did respect strength, then he would show the man strength. He went through hand seals and speeds that Yujito could not follow. He muttered words that she did not hear completely. It seemed like nothing had happened for a few moments until gusts of winds picked up around him, lifting up debris. The debris was quick to disappear as the gusts died down. No change had occurred to Naruto. He still looked the same, and there was no visible change to his appearance, nor a change in feel of his chakra. "What did you do?" Yujito asked curiously. Jiraiya from afar had the same question. He knew that the blonde had done something, but he could not see it. He could also not feel anything, but something inside of him assured him that the blonde had done something. It was curious since he had never seen Naruto go those hand seals before. If he had released his resistance seals, he would have noted it. Perhaps he had released them. "Attack me, and you will find out," Naruto responded calmly. Yujito did not wait for a second invitation. She burst out towards the blonde in greater speed than she had been using before. The takeoff lifted up debris behind her as she sped towards Naruto. She reached him in less than a second. The blonde had not even moved a muscle. He merely looked at her calmly. Yujito was not arrogant enough to believe that she had simply moved far faster for him to react. She knew that he was planning something, but she was not going to stop her attack. She would just have to be extra careful and alert, so not to get hit carelessly. She swung her left punch towards Naruto in fast movements. Still, Naruto did not move. Just as he was about to be hit, he disappeared. Just like that. He was there this second, and in the same second, he was gone. The movement was so fast that it shocked Yujito. Even the Raikage was greatly surprised. Naruto appeared behind Yujito and held out his right hand as he gathered pure natural wind around his hand. He stopped midway suddenly and brought out his hand in front of him. He looked at it with a blank look. Seeing him busy with his hand, Yujito charged towards him before jumping up into midair. She spun around and attempted to kick him on the forehead, but Naruto ducked under the kick without even looking at her. He quickly looked up as he felt that the woman was not done. Yujito attempted to slam both her hands on top of his head, but Naruto did not try to block the attack. Yujito's hand slammed onto his head, but instead of being forced down by the blow, Yujito was sent flying away from the blonde. Despite her surprise, she was quick to recover from the momentum and flipped several times before landing on the ground. She looked calmly at Naruto as he stood up. What just happened? She felt as though she was hit by some invisible force as soon as she touched him. It even hurt hitting him. It did not feel like she hit him at all. It felt like she hit some stone cold wall. When Naruto said shortly, he did not look like he was going to explain further. Explain, Yujito stated, seeing that the blonde was not going to explain to her what he had done. It definitely had something to do with what he did during round 2. Did you not wonder why I suddenly became faster than I had been? Naruto responded to Yujito with a question. Yeah, well, I did wonder, she said. I could guess that you might have something that resists your movements. Or you just had not been moving at your full speed before, she explained in a thoughtful tone and a thoughtful expression on her face. But he had said wind? What did wind have to do with anything? The speed I had been using was merely pure speed, although not my full pure speed. At that level you could have caught me if you wanted to. I can see that you are a lot faster than you have been letting on, Naruto stated as he held a single hand seal. The winds around him picked up again before spinning around furiously for a moment, and then they settled down. I was wearing wind-like cloth. Doing so makes me light as wind, thus increasing my speed. You could call it a wind armor. It can repel physical attacks and ninjutsu. It is almost impossible to break through. He gave a light explanation of his technique. But there was a limit to it. Is it any different from the Raikage's lightning cloak? The Raikage's lightning armor makes him faster than anyone, and his attacks, physical attacks, deadly. It would certainly be interesting if Naruto had created a technique like his. They are similar, but the big difference is that mine is wind, and it is designed as a defense technique and also increases my speed. It also gives me control over wind to a certain degree. How does it work? Naruto placed his hand on his forehead. A seal appeared all over his head and hands. Although Yujito could not see it, the seal was all over his body. I only completed this seal a few days ago and applied it. The seal is all over my body. As he spoke, the seal disappeared. The seal works as a conductor for wind. It absorbs the wind around me and makes it a part of me. The wind becomes my second skin. All my chakra is converted into wind chakra inside my body. The wind that is released is infused with my chakra. When the seal is active and imparts wind into my body, I can feel the wind around me. I can feel every movement around the area as well as manipulate the wind around me. The strength and how fast I can go depends on the wind pressure in the atmosphere. He could manipulate wind even without the jutsu activated. Yujito was silent for a few moments. That seems complex, she said. Is that even humanly possible without the seal? Yes, Naruto said, although he doubted anyone would be able to achieve it. I almost destroyed my chakra system when I attempted it. I would have been possibly killed also if it had not been for the Kyuubi. But it is possible without the seal. I just have yet to perfect it without it. Hence I have created the seal. He certainly did not want to remember that day. The damn fox had been surely infuriated that he had almost killed them both. He had never seen the Kyuubi angry like that. It had taken much of the fox's chakra to heal him, and for him to be healed, he had to be in a one-tailed fox state. But soon he would be able to perform the jutsu without the seal helping him. He just had to train more and more, and then he would grasp his technique fully. Seriously, Naruto nodded. How strong is its defense? I have seen your speed and how quick you are to react. I have so far used it with clones. Anything less than S rank is child's play, Naruto responded. Can I test that? Yujito asked with a smile that would not make anyone comfortable. Naruto shook his head. I have deactivated it. It is not yet perfect, and the wind here is not strong. A technique like that has to have some drawbacks, Yujito said. If I remember correctly, you said all your chakra is turned into wind chakra. That does mean you can only use wind-based jutsu. You are quite perceptive, Naruto commented. That is somewhat true. I cannot do anything other than manipulate the wind around me. But at the same time, the wind techniques I can use are mostly large scale. I had created this technique with fighting a group of opponents in mind. Is that all the disadvantages? Naruto only smiled. That was a definite no. There were more drawbacks of using such a technique. Naruto was not going to tell her that. The jutsu was quite dangerous to his body. That is why he never lists it as an ace or even bothered to hide it. He was still developing it. In terms of speed, he was okay to run with it. But other things and its effects to his body were things that he still had to look at carefully. There was also a limit on how long he could keep it activated. At the moment, the time was very small. He had stopped gathering wind around his hand earlier, because he could feel some strain on his muscles. If the problem continued, he would only use the technique for speed, defense, and to increase his senses. He could turn it on and off whenever he wanted. Talking has waned my interest in this little show, Naruto said quietly, but loud enough for Yujito to hear him. My thoughts exactly, she actually agreed with him. It did not take that long for Jiraiya and the Raikage to appear before the two. The Raikage had a small smile while Jiraiya looked at Naruto, as if he was trying to read his mind. At first the blonde refused to show his true strength. He only revealed that he was exceptional in Taijutsu, fast and a master of Fuinjutsu. There was also his use of the Flying Thunder God technique. When he fought that thing, he showed his good use of both lightning and wind elements. He was also capable of using fire element. So Jiraiya had this question. How much more of his abilities was Naruto hiding? Naruto saw the Sannin staring at him. He flicked his finger towards the Sannin, sending a small pressure of wind towards him. Jiraiya did not see anything until he was hit. It pressure did nothing painful. It accomplished making Jiraiya glare at the blonde. That is how much I can manipulate wind, Naruto stated. Now stop looking at me like that. That look does not sweet you. Jiraiya grumbled something. The Raikage merely laughed, finding Naruto's interaction with Jiraiya amusing. You have an interesting boy, Jiraiya. He is not fun anymore. That did not seem to be a response to the Raikage's statement. The man shook his head and looked at Naruto. If you have some impressive speed, I must test my speed with yours to see if I am still faster. But you will have to perfect your technique, he said. Minato had been the only shinobi to ever go faster than him. It would be interesting to see what his son could do. That sounds like a plan, Naruto said, smiling slightly. Perhaps I might relieve you as the fastest man in the elemental nations. You can try, the Raikage stated. Many have tried, but aside from your father, none have succeeded. Shinobi of these days are a lot more relaxed and lack the drive to become stronger, unlike your generation. The current world without war has only brought about a weak generation. No one now can compare to the strength Hashirama had. It is not that it is impossible to reach the feats he reached. We of today lack the drive, Naruto stated, something that even surprised Jiraiya. But I have something that drives me. That is why I can stand here and say, the next time I return to this village, I will be faster than you with a jutsu of my creation. There was some silence after Naruto had spoken. Bold words. He did not scoff at Naruto's words. He accepted the challenge. What drives you? The Raikage asked curiously. Naruto merely kept his small smile as he responded. You will know after I have proved to be faster than you. Doesn't that make things interesting? Yes, it does, the Raikage said with a nod. Come on, Jiraiya. Let us go back to my office and allow the kids to play. Jiraiya started to have some normal thoughts running through his head. Let me know if you are going to do something that might be attracting to my research with her, he stated with a perverted grin, looking at Naruto before disappearing with the Raikage. What did he mean by that? Yujito asked curiously as she had heard the Sannin speak. Naruto looked straight into Yujito's eyes. Knowing him, I would imagine he means to notify him if I were to do anything sexual with you, so that he could watch. Yap, he said it. What? It was not that she did not understand him, she understood his words clearly. She just did not think that he would say it aloud like that with a straight face. A day later. Are you always like this? Yujito commented as she looked straight at Naruto. They were on top of the Raikage tower, sitting comfortably. The blonde was going to be leaving in a few hours with Jiraiya. The Sannin had said he should meet him here, because he wanted to say something to A before they left. But he had not seen the Toad Sage ever since yesterday, when he gave him the message. It was not like he had even bothered to look for him. He knew that he would eventually make his way to the tower. These days, I just prefer to be quiet. But I was not always like this, he smiled slightly, remembering his old days. He was sure loud and annoying back then. He had been told that a few times by many people. But even so, he was quite crafty. Those are the days when he was young and naive. He had always thought that everything would turn out the way he wanted them to. But not everything worked out the way he wanted them to. Sometimes things just spat you out and reject your ideals. Nothing much had worked out for him during those days. He was quite pathetic in everything. At least he had a kind heart and a warm smile. But his experience had taught him much. Without experiencing what he has experienced, he would have never thought of trying to change the world. He would have simply let it be the way it was. But because of those experiences, he knows the true nature of the shinobi world. There was some positive from his hateful childhood. Yujito was interested in hearing what Naruto had been like in his younger days. From these days she has been with him, he has been acting a lot more mature, perhaps more than many people she knows. He did not always speak, but when he spoke, she had to listen to him. So how were you like before this? Seems interesting given that fond smile on your face, she stated. He indeed had a smile on his face. There is not much to tell, Naruto said. Actually, there were many things he could tell her. He had done a fair number of crazy things in his genin days. He just was not going to tell her everything. But I was probably the loudest genin in Konoha. I was often called Konoha's #1 unpredictable shinobi. My clothing was orange, and I was always looking for attention. I did anything to get attention, either be provoking people or painting someone's shop, anything passed as long as I got some response from it. I was stupid then. He then explained a few things to Yujito, who listened inventively. You seem have had a lot of fun back then, she said after the blonde had finished speaking. Well, the fun was part of it. There was also the loneliness, which was no surprise, given that he was a Jinchuriki. You could put it in that way, Naruto said. He had his share of fun. That is if you call going around the village causing mass chaos, and then to have a number of Ambu run after you. They were always chasing him. Well, at least he learnt something from those days. Running around the village had him have the village's map imprinted within his head. You know, after seeing how fast you can go, it is not hard to believe that you could outrun Ambus, Yujito said. The blonde had proven to be very fast, even faster than her. Speed like what Naruto has shown is not something that takes a year to achieve. Well, that is what she believes anyway. You would not believe it if I told you that 3 years ago, I could not be counted in the list of fast genins, Naruto said, looking up at the heavens. The sky was sometimes cloudy in this village, but it all made for a nice view when he looks up at the sky. The heavens were peaceful. He wished to reach up there, or at least attract them, so that they could shower the world with peace. Seriously, Naruto merely nodded. How did you become this fast in a short time? Through a training program that would probably kill or end a shinobi career of one. That is not a Jinchuriki, Naruto stated, but Guy and Lee would probably survive. Those two always seem to survive anything given to them. That is what made him admire them and their determination. Can you give me something that will make me understand what sort of training you went through? Naruto shook his head. I'd rather not, he said, losing his smile. How about you? Tell me about your life as a Jinchuriki. Yujito stopped smiling as Naruto had. She would rather not talk about the matter. But since the blonde has so far been open to her, she could as well do the same, even though they did not know much about each other. Well, he was a Jinchuriki like her. That should give him some points. I was made a Jinchuriki when I was 2 years old. When my body had developed, I was put through a harsh training, so that I could control my Bijuu's chakra. I lived and breathed training from childhood. There was nothing that I was allowed to do other than train. I only got a break after I had succeeded in controlling the power I was forced to contain. So you were made to be a weapon, Naruto said. That was the truth. Most villagers had turned their Jinchurikis into weapons of war. He had been lucky that the Sandaime had forbidden anything like that from happening. Danzu had tried many times to have him turned into a weapon for Konoha, but the old man had stopped it from happening. At least he was not a total failure in everything. Training to control a Bijuu's power is not an easy task. When your body is not used to the chakra, it burns you. I would imagine that it took you years to finally have complete control. Yujito nodded. Can you control your Bijuu's power? She asked curiously. So far, he had seemed like he was capable of using any of it. But then again, he also seemed good at hiding things. No, Naruto responded shortly. It was no lie. The Kyuubi's chakra is different from other Bijuus. I have also not given it much time to control it, but I can control some of it, not all of it. So you are the only Jinchuriki who can't control his Bijuu's power, Yujito stated. As far as she had been told, the other Jinchuriki could use and control their Bijuu's power fully. But Naruto could not do that. Perhaps it was because he was never forced to train. I am aware of that, Naruto acknowledged. But that did not mean that he was the weakest of the Jinchuriki. He looked behind him as he sensed Jiraiya. Ah, it seems our time is over, he said, standing up. It appears so, Yujito said, looking at Jiraiya. At this moment, Jiraiya had to bite himself from making a cheeky comment. It would have been nice if he could make one, but Naruto would not be pleased if he did. You should come by at Konoha sometimes. I might, Yujito smiled. But you are still gonna come back again, right? Yes, I still have my match with the Raikage. He looked at Jiraiya before looking back at Yujito. I will see you then. With that, he disappeared. Jiraiya also followed shortly, but not before winking at Yujito. Naruto and Jiraiya, I should have taught you about women, Jiraiya said as he caught up to Naruto. You do not leave a woman like that, Naruto. Naruto started without even looking at the Sannin. I do not need lessons from you. Jiraiya shrugged off the response from Naruto. Although, I do think you were a little bit friendly to Yujito. You show no interest in any of the women in Konoha or in anyone for that matter. Perhaps it is because Yujito is a Jinchuriki. What are you suggesting, Jiraiya? Again, the Sannin shrugged. I am not suggesting anything. His eyes narrowed at the Raikage. You lied to the Raikage. You are faster than him when using the Hiraishin. You also made sure to hide the fact that you could use it. Instead, you showed a new technique. You did it on purpose, knowing that the Raikage was watching, and he would take some interest you. Naruto eyed the Sannin. For what purpose? I wonder. And that's the end of this episode. The series will continue in the next part. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share, and comment down below. Thanks for watching. We'll be seeing you in the next part.